We're recording.
Meeting, please come to order. Barbara, please call the roll.
We have Commissioners Levine, Berard, McLean Hill, Noonan, and Vasquez present.
This proceeding is broadcast on Channel 35. The exact broadcast times can be found by contacting Channel 35. My only opening remark is to apologize for starting this meeting so late. I know a lot of you have been waiting here, and we should do better, and I'm sorry that we were keeping you waiting. We're going to take item 24 out of order because at least one of the presenters needs to leave early. And we will, after taking item 24 out of order, we'll go back to the regular schedule. Who is presenting item 24?
We have a resolution behind you, and it will be the board who usually presents those.
Okay, very good. And before we have the board resolution, we have an honored guest from the mayor's office with a presentation.
Thank you, and good morning, commissioners. I'm Liz Crossan, Director of Infrastructure for the mayor's office, and I'm honored to be here on behalf of the mayor today to honor Aura Vasquez, who has been an incredible asset to the department and a true leader when it comes to the goals and objectives of this department, especially in the areas of the environment, equity, and clean energy. So on behalf of the mayor, I'd love to read this certificate. As mayor of the City of Los Angeles, I am honored to recognize your 2 years of service to the City of Los Angeles on the Board of Commissioners to the Los Angeles Department of Water and Power. From your work on the 100% renewable energy study, equity metrics, and Owens Valley tribal relations, to being the first commissioner to hold office hours, you have helped lead the department further down the path of sustainability and equity. Your dedication to environmental justice, as well as your policy leadership, has aided the department and my administration countless times during your tenure. Thank you for serving the City of Los Angeles with passion and expertise, with best wishes on your future endeavors. Signed, Mayor Eric Garcetti. And on a personal note, I just want to say it's been such a pleasure to work with you, and I want to thank you for being a fierce advocate for, strongly pushing the department into the right direction. I think that has been an incredibly valuable service, and I just wish you the best in your future. So thanks, Aura, Commissioner.
If you could stick around, because after we make whatever comments we choose to make, and we have a resolution to present, we'd like you to join us with the presentations. Right. So it's my honor as president of the board to present our colleague, Commissioner Vasquez, with this water and power resolution, and I will take the liberty of reading this and then ask my colleagues for comments that I suspect some of them, if not all of them, will have. So, whereas Ms. Aura Vasquez was appointed to the Board of Water and Power Commissioners by Mayor Eric Garcetti and was confirmed by the Los Angeles City Council on May 3rd, 2017, and whereas Ms. Vasquez is principal of Vasquez Solutions, LLC, and a board member of the League of Conservation Voters with extensive experience in New York, Washington, D.C., and California, transforming communities and advocating a better future for all residents. And whereas Ms. Vasquez provided leadership for the Los Angeles Department of Water and Power for 2 years, increasing sustainability, equity, innovation, and improving customer engagement. And whereas Ms. Vasquez provided environmental stewardship by spearheading LADWP's community solar program to improve solar equity for renters, introducing LADWP's used electric vehicle rebate program to ensure all Angelenos have access to clean vehicles, and accelerating the decarbonization of Los Angeles power supply by increasing LADWP's renewable portfolio standard targets. And whereas Ms. Vasquez prioritized the importance of water conservation and reduced LADWP's reliance on imported water by authorizing the North Hollywood Groundwater Treatment Facility and increasing the number of recycled water projects for Los Angeles. And whereas Ms. Vasquez provided steadfast support for the inclusion of all the diverse voices of Angelenos by promoting LADWP's community partnerships, offering open and public office hours to LADWP customers, and promoting the equity of LADWP resources and programs across Los Angeles to ensure no Los Angeles resident is left behind in the new green economy. And whereas Ms. Vasquez led LADWP to seek innovative and clean technology solutions, calling for increased access to microgrid technology, energy storage systems, and solar generation for every Los Angeles resident. And whereas the loss of Ms. Vasquez's inclusive leadership on the Board of Water and Power Commissioners will most certainly be felt. Nevertheless, her impacts and service to protecting the environment and promoting an equitable future for all Angelenos will continue long after her departure from this commission. Now therefore be it resolved that the Board of Water and Power Commissioners, on behalf of the management of this department, its employees, and the residents of the City of Los Angeles, thank Ms. Vasquez for her dedicated public service. Be it further resolved that the Secretary be instructed to place this resolution in the minutes of this board as a permanent record, and that an engrossed copy of this resolution be presented to Ms. Vasquez in recognition of her committed dedication to public service to the city. I therefore certify that the foregoing is a full, true, and correct copy of a resolution adopted by the Board of Water and Power Commissioners of the City of Los Angeles at its meeting held on April 23rd, 2019, signed by me as president and Barbara as secretary. It's remarkable that she could do this in such a short time, and I think this aptly summarizes at least some of the wonderful achievements that she has provided for the City of Los Angeles. So, Commissioner Vasquez, you're not called on yet to say anything. Do other commissioners, I'm going to reserve a couple of comments beyond the formalities, and I'll first call on any other commissioner who would like to. First, we'll go by seniority. Commissioner Noonan.
You're making me feel very old. No,
I said nothing about age. I said seniority.
Well, first of
No
all,
ageism allowed.
well, first of all, I feel that this resolution truly encapsulates what you've achieved in 2 years, which is remarkable. And as your fellow commissioner, I just want to thank you for all of your social activism. I've never, ever spent time with any other commissioner, whether it be at DWP or at the convention center, that was so engaged with the public. And your efforts made a big difference in terms of public notes, public commentary. The fact that you were able to rally so many people to drive hours to come here to make a statement to support your vision states a lot about your leadership. And so thank you for your time, and I really, really am excited about your future.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
You're doing seniority?
By seniority, Commissioner Barad.
Thank you. Well, we're going to miss you. We're going to miss your energy and your drive to do what you felt was right. And I never quite knew what you were going to say, but that was very refreshing. And I think that's what we would like to commend you for, is that you really were there for your community and for underserved communities, making sure that the ratepayers of the city all got a fair shake. And also, you are a fierce advocate. So I want to wish you well in whatever your future holds, and I'm sure that you will achieve great things.
Having served with you for the shortest period of time, I am particularly struck by the fact that you're leaving today, and saddened in a number of respects. We have a tradition in my family that we try to extend to or to make sense of absence or loss, and that is to identify the thing about the individual that we're missing and to identify something about them that we can incorporate into who we are, what we do, or make our practice. And I told you that I was really intrigued by your office hours, and that having been on commissions for years and years and years over the course of my own career, I'd always struggled with how to be accessible to people who weren't part of the power elite or who didn't have my telephone number or didn't know me otherwise. And so in that regard, I thought the office hours were genius. And also told you that I would follow suit. So my commitment to you today and in tribute to your service here will be to establish office hours so that notwithstanding your departure, there continues to be a conduit for people who don't otherwise know how to access those who are meant to represent them. That I will do as part of my incorporating one of the things that I think is at the root of what makes you special. And like the others, I will miss seeing you at board meetings and working with you throughout the course of the month on items related to DWP. Although I expect that, like other departed or past commissioners, we will continue to hear from you on items of interest, and I look forward to that. Thank you.
And I don't have a lot to add to all of the appropriately laudatory comments that have both been contained in the resolutions and stated by our colleagues. I'm going to miss you in many ways. And one of them that has not been explicitly noted, but I believe the rest of us would agree with me on, is in addition to all of the substantive and significant activities you've led, you are enormously fun. You bring a joie de vivre and an enthusiasm and a passion to these meetings and to your concerns. And there are people who've asked me over the years, you know, aren't the issues you deal with dry? Aren't they sort of difficult to get your arms around? And how do you read through all of these documents? And you bring a spirit of, you love what you do, you are a born leader, your passion and commitment is infectious. And I see for you out a career of leadership. I believe that you are going to continue to lead, and it's my hope and belief that you will lead bigger and broader constituencies. And I am looking forward to watching the next steps in your life, knowing that the passion and commitment and integrity that you demonstrate will continue, and I'm hopeful and confident it will continue in future leadership posts. And I share what all of my colleagues have said. We will miss you greatly, and we're very fortunate that you've been with us for the amount of time that you have. And if you care to say a word or two, or however many you wish.
Well, I think a lot of folks are here also because they would like to say a few words. So I don't know when that's appropriate, and I also welcome the staff to say a few words. Some of you have already expressed your either sadness or your comments, or you're like, yeah, it's finally over. But I think I would like to maybe have a moment for folks that maybe want to speak and say something if they will, briefly, and share maybe how is my work as a conduit of all of our work has.
We will consider any speakers who wish to speak as part of public comment.
Oh.
And we can do that right now. If there are speakers who wish to comment about you, they're welcome to do so. Yeah. Please announce who you are.
My name is William Lastly. I met Aura just after she became commissioner at another progressive organization. And I saw her, I said, oh my God, I have to help this girl. Whatever she wants, I have to help her. So I'm not going to long way, I'll give you a little story. One day we decided to do a photo shoot. Usually a model will come over with a little bag and it's all like, you know, really compact, maybe 5 or 6 outfits. What did she do? She brought the rack. Oh my God. She always does stuff. If you're gonna do it here, she's gonna do it here, okay? But I would like to have one thing for you guys to consider. I just saw this New York law, sustainable buildings. They're requiring it 90% reduction of emissions. I think that would be good for you guys to pursue that, to have it in LA, and you can honor her by doing that. That's it. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
That's definitely would be my.
Are there other Commissioner Vasquez speakers?
Good morning. My name is Andres Ramirez. I'm here on behalf of Pacoma Beautiful. And I want to thank Aura for her service, for championing frontline communities. It's been refreshing to have a champion on the board that hears us, that knows us, what our communities are fighting for. And we're proud of all the work we've been able to do in the last 2 years. And we look forward to continue to collaborating with you in whatever endeavor that you do. And we're committed to continue your legacy of championing environmental justice values here in the board, to push our board to get to 100% renewables by 2040. But thank you once again, Aura, and you know, you rock.
Well put. Thank you.
Thank you.
Others?
No.
Wait, before I call on the general manager, yes.
Hi, my name is Dr. Daniel Burillo, and I've known Aura for I think 7, 8 years since we first met at the Sierra Club, and I was really impressed with her passion and commitment and skills as a community organizer, and she has been a friend, a colleague, and a bit of a role model for me ever since. So I just want to say thank you for your service.
Thank you.
Thank you. General Manager, you have something to say about Commissioner Vasquez?
Yes, I do. And we had a long conversation a couple days ago. But on behalf of the department, really wanted to tell you how much we supported and enjoyed your passion for all aspects related to the department. Your real strong advocacy for environmental justice, for the underserved, for low income. As we looked at renewables, which is kind of a more known path and kind of a more high profile, I always appreciated very much your support of the energy efficiency and demand energy response programs that are a huge component of moving forward over the next several decades so that we reduce the amount of energy we use as well as changing the energy that we would use as well. Finally, just in this short summary, your support of communications and utilizing social media and really getting out in the community with our message was very much heard by us, and we are moving in that direction very quickly, and can't tell you how much we support and really appreciated your comments of moving forward and casting that communications effort much more wider and to much more depth. We will miss you and have appreciated your time here.
Thank you. Well, I see a lot of familiar faces, and I appreciate some of you that are sitting there and that have sent me messages in private and that have reached out to me, sending notes, and also via social media. You know, in retrospect, you think about social media as something that it can be so impersonal, and yet it has created so much connection among people that I know and that I don't know, to bring their ideas, their concerns, and their suggestions to the department. I think 2 years ago when I was voted as a commissioner, I could only imagine the power of representation. And you read about representation in the news, you hear about women being represented in the political process and people of color. But for me, it's been an incredible experience to being able to represent a community that felt didn't have a voice, that didn't have a champion at the department. And I think a lot of my fellow board members are champions in their own ways, and they do incredible work and hard work in their own manner. And it's remarkable to see how we all can be so different and yet work so well together. So for that, I'm really grateful, and I thank you for allowing me to be myself and to speak up and to sometimes be called into the principal's office and such. I think that's part of the job. I think that when you are trying to reinvent a position that has so much weight in the second largest city in the country, where you are trying to do the right thing for a community or for a group of people that have never been accounted before, that feel that they have never had a voice, it's been an honor, and it's been very exciting, and I'm grateful for the opportunity. For the people that trusted me with coming here, the mayor, the mayor's office, Liz, Lauren, Barbara Romero, Ana Guerrero. I mean, I can start naming so many of these incredible women that I look up to, and that allow this wild dream to become a reality. You know, 22 years ago, when I came to this country with $5 in my pocket with my family, I never imagined that someone like me could come to this city and become a commissioner and lead the largest utility, public utility in the country, in the second largest city in the country. So it's exciting, and I think it's a testament that the American dream is really alive, and it happens every day everywhere. There are Commissioner Vasquez out there. There are Nipsey Hussles out there. There are people that are doing incredible work that have incredible reach, that are just next to us and that we need to support. And this morning, as I was getting ready to come, and I was kind of checking in, and I was sat and did my meditation and in my prayer moment, there was a part of me that felt like, well, you know, now I'm not going to be influential. I'm not going to have access. I'm not going to be able to make decisions. I'm not going to be able to be part of the team. And I think that I quickly came around to realize that we are so much more powerful than we think. That these titles that we have that are given to us are important, but also in a way separate us from each other. That we have so much more that we can do, that I have been influencing this utility for the past 10 years as a resident, as an organizer for the Sierra Club, as someone that is being involved. And I want to especially say this to the staff, because I got the chance to work with a lot of you shoulder to shoulder, and some of you sometimes were a little confused about my approach, and some of you were very excited and welcome. You know, my more collaborative, let's just come to this solution together. Let's figure out what the problems are, and let's tackle them together as a community. Because for me, democracy is not just something that you go and exercise the day where you vote. Democracy happens every day, everywhere. And for me, it was important to also show the staff that we could have a democratic, inclusive process where we could arrive to solutions together with my own example. So collaboration is not something that we read about. It's something that we have to experience and practice and implement in everything that we do. And I think that before I leave today, I want to really plant that seed on staff, that they have so much more power than they believe they have, and that they can influence the utility in a way that is so important, that it will really counting on you, and that's really something that I live myself, I live today with, to knowing that the team of people that made this utility go around are incredible and are capable and are doing incredible work and can do a lot more. And I think it's time. It's time to be more participatory, and I think it's time for more collaboration, not just internally, but also externally. And I have a list of stuff here that I have done, together, learning from my office hours and all the people that came that I'm grateful. And if you're listening or if you know of my departure, I'm so grateful that you all came to speak to me at my office hours, because that made me stronger. That made me understand issues at the department and understand how to resolve them better. If it wasn't because of them, but those people that came and speak up, I wouldn't been able to serve this city and to serve this commission in the way I could. And lastly, I just want to say that I am leaving. This isn't the last time that you hear from me, of course. That this being a commissioner was not the first interaction that I have with the department, and I think that this is the time where we can all continue working together. And I really hope that that becomes a reality, and that the department continues striving to be that customer-focused, customer-centered place that we can be, where we really have the customer's best interests and service them at heart, and where we look at our city, and I think that we're already doing this in a way that we can do the right thing, which sometimes doing the right thing is not maybe the most cost-effective or the most political the most political decision to make, but it's the right thing to do. So I hope that I'm sure that they have somebody pretty amazing lined up to replace me, and I hope that all of you can continue working with that new person, and with, of course, with the rest of the board members. I'm gonna miss you incredibly, and all of the things that I have learned. I like to say, from like Christina, with her sharpness in terms of contracts and the details. I mean, like, I feel like I'm a pretty working bee, but I feel like your sense of detail really taught me how to like stop and look at other things that I would have never really looked into. So I appreciate sitting with you, and even though we're very different in personalities, I think that we kind of came to so many places to work together, and that's so important to understand how we can best move on and move forward and work together. And when I first came to became a commissioner, somebody told me, oh, you're gonna get along really well with Jill Barat, because she's kind of like, you're kind of like her, but you're like her younger version. Somebody did say that.
Who said that?
And they said she's really cared about her community. She has been fighting out there for them. So she will be your first best ally, because you two are just different in age and obviously in location. And I am 2% Jewish, by the way. I think we have talked about this. So in a way, I'm 2%.
2%? 99%.
I know. But I feel like we have a lot of similarities, and in a lot of ways, your voice around bringing the community's interests first is really being remarkable, and something that even as an outspoken and as involved as I can be, I have really learned from you. So thank you so much for allowing me to just watch you work, and it's just been amazing. And Cynthia, we just met, and I think I really felt that we had a good thing going, like since we met, and just like I feel like I really kind of made you my mentor without you knowing, and like watch you and came and ask you, and I'm receptive about your leadership and your thought process and the way that you have conducted yourself even in these few months. And I don't think this is not the last time I'm going to see you. So I hope that we can continue working together, and I'm here for you when you need. And Commissioner Levine, it's been such a pleasure serving with you. And you are a former Congress member, so that's remarkable. And I just think that this is a little anecdote. So sometimes when we will have items and people will come to speak, I will always write notes about who was in support or against. And sometimes I will look over and Commissioner Levine will be doing the same thing. And I was like, oh, wow, how interesting that we both do the same and kind of keep track of the data that you also collect with all of the stories that people bring. But your leadership and how you are so sharp when it comes to really pointing out to the bigger issues and the deeper problems that sometimes people bring here. And how I definitely get sometimes lost in a lot of the details, and exactly what the most important and the poignant detail is. So that's something that I really learned from you. So thank you so much for allowing me to learn from you. So, and the staff, the leadership staff, Reiko, Dana, of course Marty, which I think we're both very fun people. I think we both share that. And Richard, and I see some other faces that don't want to look at me right now, and Eric that I got to travel with and give so many headaches, and Nancy and our attorney, who I think he was every day like, oh my God, she's coming back. So it's been such pleasure working with you, and it has been with so much love that I have come here to serve this city. And I want you to know that even when we agreed to disagree, even when we didn't see eye to eye, I had the best intentions and the most respect for all of you, and that I'm counting on you to continue the legacy, not just mine, but mayors and the mayor and the rest of the commissioners. So thank you, all of you so much for trusting me and for giving me the chance to serve this beautiful city.
So I move approval of the resolution that I read a few minutes ago. Is there a second?
Second.
Those in favor? Aye. I don't think there's anyone opposed. I'm not even going to ask.
Except to recuse yourself.
I think
Resolution has been passed. And now let's present the two resolutions to Commissioner Vasquez and take a couple of pictures. So Liz, would you join us, please?
You have to wait 5 council days for the top 5 period to run before you can give her the resolution.
Very easy. Well,
We're not asking for legal guidance on this one. So.
Commissioner, would it be possible for us to take the picture in the well? The well is this area I learned today. This
We
area
can take
here.
it wherever you would like it.
Because I would like everybody to come and take the picture.
Okay,
of that.
well, let's go down to the well. And stay dry.
Till the well runs dry.
You won't let that happen.
Remember, I'm the fun one. Let's remember that.
So Jill, 99.6, what happened to the point 4?
Are we up? All right.
Nobody else wants to be in there.
Aura, do you want this out now?
Maybe, or
Later? Later? Okay, let us know when you want us to bring it out. Okay. After the picture.
Okay, so you and I can decide for esteemed commissioner.
can actually do 2 rows. So why don't you come up a little bit, and let's get some folks behind, squeeze in. Look. Okay, let me have you come up. Yeah, you're going to be on the other side. That's good. Okay. Donna, come over one. Yeah, that's good. Just like that.
Everybody's so shy here.
Okay. All right. And let's see. Rachel, let me have you come up a little. Take a step up, right there. That's good. Okay. Now I don't want to lose you, Ann. So. Okay. Here we go. That would look very good. Look good. Look good. All right. Here we go. Okay. No, I was looking for the other photographer. Okay, here we go. All right. All right. Here's the first one. Big smile, everyone. On 2. Ready? 1, 2. Let's see how we're looking here. Oh, yeah. 1, 2. Oh, yeah. Okay. Thank you. Okay. Okay, we go again. All right. Here we go. Big smile on 2. Ready? 1, 2. Okay. Here we go again. Actually, let me just check one thing. I want to make sure I'm not getting any reflection in the resolution. Okay. Okay, here we go. Here we go. On 2. Ready? 1, 2. Okay. Here we go again. On 2. Ready? 1, 2. Another one. Big smile. That's good. Here we go. On 2. Ready? 1, 2. And last one. Last one. Most important one. Big group hug, everyone. Yay! Come on, come on. This is the only time I can get you guys to do this. Only time, only time. Here we go. Here's the first one. Big smile. Here we go again. That's good. Right here. And look up here. Big smile again. That's good. Excellent. Anyone else? Good. Great. Thank you. Doesn't weigh as much as ours. Thank you, Liz.
So in a true Colombian fashion, I brought empanadas for whoever wants some. So they're going to be in the corner over there. So if you guys want some empanadas, you can have. Please eat them.
Okay. Well, that was the highlight of the meeting. It's downhill from here. We have 4 public comment cards, I believe. Barbara, go ahead and call them.
Okay, the first speaker is Mayam Dambo. Hopefully I didn't mispronounce that too badly.
You did, it's okay.
Hi, my name is Mayan Dembo. I'm a resident of Los Angeles, and I'm here. How much time do I have?
2 minutes.
2 minutes. Okay. I'm sorry.
I'm here to make a comment about the current rate-paying structure. So, as hopefully everyone in this board knows, climate change is upon us, and we have increased drought conditions. So it's imperative for residents of Los Angeles to conserve water. I want to propose for the board to consider a change to the ratepayer structure to take into account building occupancy, in addition to the quantity of water that is consumed. I personally live in what's zoned as a single-family home. Currently, we have 11 people living with us. We waddle between Tier 2 and Tier 3 consumption usage every other month or so. Despite our conservation efforts, we don't have any sort of massively consuming appliances. And this presents a great financial burden upon our household to pay these increased fees for water, even though on a per-person basis, we're consuming similar amounts as most other folks. And I know I'm not alone in this. LA is the most overcrowded metropolitan statistical area, considering 1.5 people for every room. 4.5% of households in LA fall under this this kind of typology. So I would like you to consider this as a change to how you currently charge for water. Additionally, congratulations, Commissioner Vasquez, on your 2 years of service. I didn't realize that this was going to be the last time for you, so congratulations and great work on everything that you've done. Thank you for listening.
Thank you.
Okay, the next speaker is Andre Ramirez, or did you already speak for, I think he already spoke for under Commissioner Vasquez. He's not there, okay. David Bond is the next speaker.
Hello, Board of Commissioners, and congratulations, Maura. I'm here as a field employee representative. This is what I wear on a regular basis, and I currently work far away, and feel, as quite a few other field workers do, that we are not receiving what we should at remote locations as far as support and information and training and up-to-date things that are occurring due to our remote location. I have a document that I created. It's called 2020 Vision. It's one for each of the Board of Commissioners. And for Mr. Wright, our general manager, thank you. I finally had the opportunity to get this high. And unfortunately, I had to file a grievance that went to the first level manager, then went back, and then went to the fourth level manager, went back, and went to the assistant general manager when I was hoping to speak to Mr. Wright about it. However, some things have happened in the past that we've done a very good job of keeping under the carpet. And some of those things aren't really beneficial. And the more that us field employees knew or know about this information, we could possibly prevent it from occurring in the future and maybe minimize minimize injury to personnel and damage to equipment. So in an effort to do that, I, as a field employee, I've been out in the field for 30 years, and currently my view from my office is better than any of yours as I climb the top of a 200-foot turbine and then come outside and look and have 360 vision of some incredible poppies and a whole bunch of other turbines. It's very nice, very pleasant. However, we are part of the group, and we are want to be inclusive. And I've also heard some things that I've done in the past and training and this and that. Well, that's not our core work, so you're not going to do that anymore, and neither will anyone else that comes like you in the future. And it's like, so we don't need that job done anymore? No, you're not going to do it. I feel it enabling the capabilities of all of our field employees. Department has spent millions of dollars training me at different locations, at different times, in different ways. And with all that different training I have, I don't want to say I'm the $6 million man because I'm not sure how much it was. However, I don't understand why at any point in time you would want to limit our capabilities. Why not try to expand our capabilities and include the next generation in the same thing? So that's why I created this document. It's called 2020 Vision. I'd like the commissioners to have a copy.
You can hand it to the security officer, and he'll bring them up to me, and I'll pass them out for you.
Very good. I wrote somebody's name on the top of each one. But I do work far away. I do work in situations. Once I was working with a gentleman. He was 68 years old. He went out into the hub. The hub is the portion that rotates with the supports and spins the blades. So he went out there on a very windy day, and I go, hey, I'm not going out there. And he goes, I have to finish something. Okay, so he went out there, and as he's returning his material, we worked for about an hour and a half, and as he was returning his material, okay, called on the radio, hey, Bond, I'm ready to come in. Cool. I go outside. There were small ice shards piercing thank God I have my glasses on, but there's piercing my face, so it's rather painful to try to look at him. So he gives me the information, he throws his bag, and then he asked for one more thing. And I was like, oh yeah, I need a drill to fix this. I go, you want something else? I can barely tolerate this scenario. And he said, I'll finish it right now. So I got it for him, and not being able to look forward any further, I turned around and saw the clearest, biggest, most colorful rainbow I had ever seen, 15 to 20 feet behind me. Where was I? On the wrong side. Here at Water and Power, I want to remain on the right side.
Thank you very much.
Okay, the next speaker is Tomer Avital. Tomer, T-O-M-A-R-A-V-I-T-A-L. Okay, they're not here.
Okay.
Then that's the last card I had.
Okay, thank you. General Manager.
Yes, a couple things. The first one, I'd like to recognize Nancy Sutley. Nancy was recently at the Climate Leadership Awards, and at that ceremony, the Center for Climate and Energy Solutions and the Climate Registry bestowed upon her the Climate Leadership Award for Individual Leadership. And the important thing there, that's not given to a number of people, that's given to one person. And I wanted everybody to know that our Chief Sustainability Officer, Nancy Sutley, was recognized with that award for her tremendous work in sustainability, and not just here, but recognized across the nation. So I wanted to recognize Nancy for that great recognition. And then the other thing, I wanted to turn it over to Rich, because he had one recognition he wanted to provide as well.
Yes, I'd like Penny Falcon to join me at the podium. So, Commissioner, I want to present to you for recognition Penny Falcon upon the occasion of her retirement coming May 1st. Who is Penny Falcon? Well, in the world of Western water conservation, Penny Falcon is a rock star. She, a lot of employees do a lot of hard work here at the Department of Water and Power, but a few of them are known outside of these four walls. And Penny is known throughout the state as a leader in water conservation. She has been for the last 10 years the manager of our water conservation policy, legislative, and grants group. But she really is a recognized leader in water conservation. Most significantly, she led a years-long negotiations with the state regulatory officials to ensure that the city's interest during the California drought emergency and their long-term conservation regulations were being formed. She's the one that really represented the city and is known up there as an expert and really positioned the city in a place that we can not only live under those regulations, but really be a leader of those regulations. She served on numerous boards on trade groups throughout the state, most significantly as a board member for the California Urban Water Conservation Council. Locally, she really was the city's leading force when we went through our last two major droughts, developing multiple water conservation ordinance amendments to improve our city's outdoor irrigation requirements and to address unreasonable use from high users. So I present to you, and actually the general manager and the president of the board has signed a resolution for her, so I present that to you and you to the commission.
Shouldn't have turned around. There's a lot of great faces that I've worked with, a lot of you in the audience. Let me pull this together. So I just want to really thank the department for this fabulous opportunity. I really loved my job. My husband, Robert, in the audience, can attest to how much I love my job. I would work all the time on this job. And I'm very proud of the accomplishments that we've made. And I couldn't have done any of it without the support of this board, without the support of the city attorney's office, my managers, Marty, you've just been fabulous, Rich, and even on our water loss stats that we needed, Fred and his crew, and everybody that's in this audience. Dave Pettyjohn has just supported me immensely to get the things done that we need to do to protect the department and protect the city of Los Angeles from things, and to further conservation. I see Brionia, I got to tell you, about every face in this audience has helped me one way or another with my career and to make the accomplishments that we've made. And I'm so proud of what we've done here with water conservation, water use efficiency, but most of all, I'm proud of my staff back there. They've just been fabulous. They have developed so greatly over the years, and I know that they're going to continue to carry on and advance conservation and efficiency for the city. I'd like them to stand. Where'd Kathy disappear to? Oh, hi, Kathy. Of course, she's right down there filming it all. But Kathy, Javon, Sophia, Asal, oh my gosh, Peter, and it goes on back there. Ed, Reynold, as you can see, and Jeff. We've got a full staff to really move these things forward, and I know Terrence, who's the manager of all the groups, he's going to continue the legacy. So they're all going to continue what I've started, and I couldn't be prouder. But I just really want to thank everybody. I want to thank you for this recognition. And, you know, I'm going to be watching. You know, I'm not going anywhere. I'm going to be watching and being proud of everything that happens in the future. So thank you again.
Thank you, Penny.
Yeah, just a quick comment. When you know, we leave the dais and walk back to our offices, on the walls there are pictures of the founding leaders of this organization, and they kind of all share a couple of traits. They're all white and they're all male. And so it is with just an extraordinary amount of pleasure that I sit today and witness the acknowledgement of the two incredible women leaders that have been acknowledged and recognized at this meeting. And also, it's astounding to see the diversity in this room and to think about the history and the legacy that you propel. There is just no way to imagine that we would all be where we are, and that you would be who you are, and that leadership in Los Angeles would look the way that it looks today. And I am so proud of that. I am also incredibly humbled by both your accomplishments, and will, you know, commit to spend my time here really trying to live up to not just the past, but to your particular contributions to the city and to this department. So I wanted to tell you that you know, these moments do matter, and they matter not just to the people that have been here with you working, but they matter to the people that are watching and the people that will go, you know, that will continue as you move on. It is also a testament to the talent within this department, and I don't know that we spend enough time recognizing it. We take for granted what you do and who you are, and it is so common that when you walk outside these doors and people who aren't here are confronted with your magnificence, that you really do, you know, that you are lauded, awarded, and relied upon by so many. And so I also want to take a moment to just recognize the sheer amount of talent and the amount of capacity and the amount of leadership that's resident in this department, and appreciate all of the efforts on part of management to bring that forward and to highlight that in this forum as well. So thank you both.
I want to piggyback on Commissioner McClain-Hill's comments as well. First of all, we're really sad for us that you're retiring. And I think Rich's summary comment about you being a rock star in this world is very well deserved. And I can't count the number of times over the course of my tenure here where I've heard of the wonderful leadership that you've provided in all of these areas that has been so essential to our citizens and our ratepayers. And I particularly want to associate myself with Commissioner McClain-Hill's comments about how emblematic of our staff that is. It never ceases to amaze me, the quality and dedication and commitment and talent that is demonstrated across the boards in this department. And Penny, you are emblematic of that, and we're going to miss you greatly, and we are extremely grateful to you for your leadership and your service and your commitment, and that, I believe, is both a comment on you and a reflection of you and your colleagues and what you do every single day. So we are going to miss you if there were a way to keep you around, we'd like to do that. We understand that's probably beyond our control, but thank you so much for all that you've done and all that you mean to this department. Okay, we'll move on. Comments from commissioners on agendized items and requests from commissioners relating to departmental operations. Are there any? Hearing none. Ratepayer advocate.
If required, we will have comments on some items on 8, and we've spent a lot of time on 17, 18, and 21 if comments are appropriate at that time.
Okay, we're going to move to defer 21, but we'll hold that until the appropriate time on the agenda. Barbara, discussion with neighborhood council representatives on any neighborhood council resolution or community impact statement filed with the city clerk which relate to any agenda item listed or being considered on this agenda for the Water and Power Board.
No community impact statements or formal positions were filed by any neighborhood councils on the items on today's agenda.
Okay. There's been a staff request to defer both items 21 and 23. May I have a motion to defer those two items?
So moved.
Second, those in favor?
Aye. And I would like to state, because item 23 is something that I've been kind of following, and so I truly would like a lot of backup information being provided given the increase in this expenditure.
Okay, that'll be noted.
Thank you.
Those in favor of the motions to defer 21 and 23 said aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, those items are deferred. So we still have on the open agenda items 11 through 20 and item 22. Do any commissioners wish to remove any of those items from what would be a consent calendar?
I'd like a presentation on item 18.
Item 18, Commissioner McLean-Hill.
I'd like to pull item 16, please.
16, Commissioner Barad. Dr. Pickle, do you need a presentation on 17, or do you just want to make comments on it? Or
I think we're getting a presentation on the general topic.
Oh, I'm sorry. I think we are. So we are getting a presentation on the general topic. We'll pull 17
Yes,
as
pull
well.
17, right.
So 16, 17, and 18 will be pulled. So is there a motion to approve items 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 19, 20, and 22?
So moved.
Second.
Yeah, second.
Those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, those items 11 through 15, 19, 20, and 22 are approved. And that leaves items 16, 17, and 18 for consideration. But before that, we will go to management reports. And we'll begin with 8A, wildfire preparedness.
Good morning. Marty Abbs, Chief Operating Officer. I'm here with Bill Harriet and then Selma Collins to give you a brief update on wildfire preparedness for the Department of Water and Power. This is some of this will be a little bit of a repeat from things that you saw back in September when you approved the Power Systems wildfire plan. And again, some of this will come back again when the next updated plan needs to be approved. But there's been a lot going on both locally and within the state in terms of wildfire. And so Mr. Wright asked us to give a briefing to the board so that you were well aware of the efforts that we have going on at this time. So I'll begin just, who got the clicker? Oh, Reggie's ahead of us. Good. Thank you, Marcel. So just briefly on wildfires, we talk a lot in the state right now about wildfires having to do with power lines and power facilities and failures. Particularly the current fire that PG&E is facing liability for up north has everyone's attention in the state, and that's really the driver of a lot of the discussions that are going on right now. Most fires in the state are caused by human activity. Campfires are a real big reason, arson, fireworks, vehicles on the side of the road or vehicles off-roading with hot exhaust systems. Natural events are the next highest source, and power facilities actually cause less than 10% of the fires in the state, although recently they've been associated with many of the catastrophic fires. And of those is just almost not quite 40% that's actually caused by down power lines, and that includes line failures that are caused by Mylar balloons, and some numbers, a little bit of failed hardware, some vegetation contact, and then there's things such as lines slapping together in high winds and animal contacts. Interestingly, anything associated with fire and a power line at this time in the state is the responsibility of the power provider. There's no exemptions or get out of jail free card when something external to what the power provider can control happens. Anything that's associated with the power facility is right now part of power provider's responsibility. Then, of course, weather conditions in the state, particularly as they're changing dramatically with climate change, the drawing of a lot of timber stands because of the years of drought, the preponderance of the bark beetles that have come and taken out of a lot of trees, over 1 million dead trees in California. We have a very different situation that's facing us in the state than we did originally. So what I'd like to do is real briefly have and some will talk about what the water system is doing to prepare for fire, and then Bill will talk about what the power system is doing to prepare. Then we'll look a little bit at what's going on in the state overall, and hopefully give you a glimpse of where this is at. It's a very large issue. There's a number of people and groups involved. Even within the city, there's several committees involved. At the state, there's several committees involved. So we'll try to cut to the chase on the key issues so you're aware of them. Did you?
Yeah, I'm just trying to, I'm trying to focus my mind around what the purpose of the presentation is.
So
like, it's
really to bring you up to speed with the efforts that we're doing, because there's been a lot of questions coming up. There's a lot of interest in the city and in state levels as to what's going on in terms of our both in terms of liability and in terms of our response to that, and how we're preparing to make sure that we're managing both water and power systems as properly as possible, and also to support the fire department in their efforts. And so it's really just to bring you up to speed on where we are with that and the status, because there's so many things going on currently, both legislatively.
So, but the only thing so I assume that what's changed or changing, because we did go through this a few months ago, are the liability related? I mean, I know there's a lot of conversation.
I'll update where we are in that with the state, yes.
Yeah, I was going to say there's a lot of moving parts around that, but I would assume that not a whole lot has changed as it relates to how we're managing on the power side. And I don't know that we actually dealt with it from the water side last time. It was just power.
Yeah,
but I would assume
that
not much has changed in that regard, right?
Not too much. No, there are some updated standards and things that we're dealing with now in terms of vegetation clearance and things like that.
But nothing sort of earth-shattering.
Nothing earth-shattering, no.
Okay, I just want to know what I'm listening for. Thank you.
Good, Anselmo.
Very good. Good morning, Commissioners. Anselmo Collins, Director of Water Operations. So I'm going to go over a little bit of what we do in the water system. The picture you're looking at is actually what we call a cistern. This is over at our Kittredge Tank facility. And what it basically is a little tank that it can be connected to a fire hydrant. And what it allows is for the fire department to hover over the tank, use their snorkel, suck the water out, and keep going. So it expedites their firefighting efforts. So what I wanted to do is cover a couple of things. I wanted to talk about the system design and firefighting and how it's considered when we're sizing facilities. I'll touch a little bit on our brush clearance program, as well as our facilities that we have that assist the fire department when it comes to fire protection. We also talk a little bit about what actions do we typically take during a fire. And at the end, I'm going to talk a little bit about some of the things we did more recently with the more recent fires like the Woosley fire, just so you can get a taste as to how we work collaboratively with the fire department. Okay, so actually let me go back over here. So as far as system design, I guess the main point here is that we start this actually early. It's at the planning stage. When we're planning and sizing our facilities, we use fire protection as one of the requirements in sizing our facilities. We get the requirements from the fire department as far as flow and pressure, but we use that information to size all our facilities. We have computerized models that we're able to utilize to figure out what's the right size pipe to ensure that we always have adequate residual pressure so the fire department can do their job. So that's very important for us. The fire department looks at things like building types, density, whether it's residential, industrial, commercial area. And the goal is to have at a very minimum a 20 PSI residual. That's pounds per square inch. Now, when we design, we don't design for 20 PSI. We typically design for a lot more. We want to make sure that we have enough robustness in the system and pressure to ensure that we can fight any fire and provide all the water required to successfully fight the fire. So in addition, something else that we do when we design our facilities, the ones that are critical, especially the hillsides where we have a lot of pump tank systems, what we do is we install backup power to them, basically internal combustion units. These are diesel running pumps, so that if we lose power because of the fire burning a power line, we still have the ability to fight the fire by providing water supply during the emergency. So the point mainly here is that we take many steps in advance of any kind of actual issue taking place. As far as the brush clearance process, so the fire department every year conducts brush clearance inspection of our facilities. In the water system, we have over 200 facilities that they go and visit. They will let us know what we need to do. Department staff, as well as LA Fire Department contractors, are able to actually go and do the brush clearance. That ensures that our facilities are compliant with fire code, but also that we're being good neighbors by making sure that our area is properly maintained and minimizes any kind of fire hazards. If we have, for example, trees that are diseased or they're dying, we can also have those removed. We have a pretty large crew of people that remove trees from properties as well, once again, to ensure that we don't have a fire issue in our facilities. Moving on, this just gives you a quick taste of the kind of facilities that we have. You can see here helicopters hovering over reservoirs. We have cisterns, like I mentioned before, as well as the fire hydrants. And I think the message here is that we have many assets that we use in firefighting. So for example, every year we have agreements with the LA City Fire Department as well as the LA County Fire Department for them to utilize our facilities. When it's a major fire, they will usually go to our reservoirs and they'll be able to take water directly from there. But also what they can do is they can land and connect the hydrants if need be, or use cisterns which are scattered throughout the city. And we have several of these that we have, not just throughout the city, but also, for example, in Griffith Park, there's several of them because typically fires in Griffith Park are fought from the air. So consequently, we have at least 2 helipads there that they're able to use to fight the fire effectively in that area. Also, when it comes to facilities, we have over 60,000 fire hydrants in our system. So we have a lot of fire protection capability in the system. We also have many inner city connections. For example, with the city of Beverly Hills, Inglewood, and Long Beach, we are able to actually supply them with water. We also have inter-agency connections, for example, with Callegas Water District. And at the end, I'll talk about something we did recently in the Woolsey fire to help out with that particular incident. So during a fire, there are several things that we do. First of all, if it's within the city, we activate the emergency response plan. We also coordinate closely with all the different fire agencies. The fire department usually takes the lead. We provide support. If there is a fire, automatically my staff is deployed, and their job is to go to these facilities where the fire department will be looking to connect to get fire water. So our staff, my staff, will be actually there shoulder to shoulder with the fire department working on these facilities. We ensure that all our facilities have proper pressure and flow. The way we do that is if you have a fire that goes multiple days, we ensure that every day we keep every single reservoir, every single tank completely full. That way, if anything happens like a loss of power, we can ensure that we have storage in the facility to be able to fight the fire. So that's just standard operating procedure that we have. Also, we look at our inner city connections, and if there's a need to use them, we can use them as well. Just as a side note, actually, not just here in LA, but also along the aqueduct, we provide a lot of firefighting support. I have between 10 to 20 employees that work for the Department of Water and Power who are actually volunteer firemen and firewomen that help fight fires up in the Owens Valley. That's volunteer work they do, and they get called upon to help out, and the department allows them to go and help. And if we have resources, equipment that we need to provide, we also can do that. So we help and work with them collaboratively. One thing I'll say about our collaboration with the fire department, in addition to the fire prevention, there's many things that we do. For example, we work with them in their search and rescue, giving them facilities where they can practice. They have their swift water rescue that they actually practice this at the Van Orman complex. I think Commissioner McLean Hill, you saw that when you were there, where the firemen basically get into a high-speed channel and they practice techniques in how to rescue people during swift water rescue attempts. We also allow facilities to be used to issue fire department exams. For the engineer exam, which is a person in charge of the pumper truck, they actually do that at our facilities as well. So we have several instances where we work with the fire department, and the great thing is that they actually get to know our facilities, and when we do have emergencies, they're well familiar with what we do in the Department of Water and Power. And the last slide I have is just some examples of what we've done recently. The most recent fire was the Woolsey fire. As you know, it was a pretty big fire that we had. It was 96,000 acres. It burned for several weeks in late November of last year. I believe it burned over 1,600 structures. There were 3 casualties as well. During that fire, LADWP, I'd like to clarify this. We did not have any water supply, no water pressure problems in our system. The fire actually was west of the city of LA, but just adjacent to it. So as part of our response, I had my staff, or our staff, that actually went to facilities on the west side of the valley to provide support, such as the picture you saw that showed somebody at Kittredge. That was where my staff was helping out. We also provided additional water supply to the Callegas Water District. They were running short on water. We have a connection with them. We got the phone call, and we were asked to provide additional water, so we did. It was through a Metropolitan Water District, and we were able to provide that water and fight the fire, and I think they were quite successful with that. One thing that we did also after, we went back after the fire, we looked at all the fire hydrants in the area, and we confirmed that all the hydrants were properly working, properly functioning, so there were no issues with our fire protection system in the city of LA. So I wanted to just point that out because I know there were reports in the media of no water or low water pressure. Those were not within our city. With that, I'm going to pass it over to Bill, and he will talk about the power system.
I have a couple of questions. So I took the opportunity this past weekend to tour Stone Canyon Reservoir, which was very, very impressive. For those commissioners who are not familiar, I actually learned quite a bit. So the Stone Canyon Reservoir is massive. It was built by the department to provide water to over 400,000 Angelenos. In 2008, given mandates that were put in place, we no longer can use it as drinking water. That being said, half of the reservoir is in the process of being covered. The other, the bigger portion it looks like a beautiful lake. And it's very nice to see the wildlife and all of that. By the same token, my understanding is that this water is only being used for emergency purposes. How often are we taking advantage of using that water? And there also is a part of me that feels that it's a shame to have all of this water be evaporated and not be cycled to like our purple plumbing to provide water to golf courses, to irrigation. So if you could speak to that a little bit. Tell me, how often do we use the water in Stone Canyon for emergency purposes?
Anytime there's a fire in that area, usually the fire fighters will use Stone Canyon Reservoir to get water from it. I cannot give you an exact number of times or how often that happens. But when this reservoir is taken out of service, first of all, there's 2 reservoirs there. There's Upper Stone Canyon and Lower Stone Canyon. Upper Stone Canyon is still in service. That is the one that's having the floating cover installed. Lower Stone Canyon was bypassed, so there's actually a high-density polyethylene pipe that was submerged in the bottom of the reservoir, and that's how we bypass the reservoir. The reservoir itself, the water is not used on a regular basis. However, we use it mainly for emergencies. The main issue is that once you take a reservoir out of service, you're not allowed to commingle that water with a drinking water system. So we actually have what they call an air gap. There's a physical separation between the outlet structure of the reservoir and the piping that actually serves water to the community itself. So
I think it's more appropriate to say that it's water is there for an emergency purpose. In the event that we lose supply to the city, like an earthquake, we lose our aqueduct supply. Then that air gap can be opened, and then we can serve water under boil water notice in case of a conflagration of fires going on in West LA. Otherwise, there is a microfiltration plant there that we are retrofitting now to be able to, what we call, drink down the reservoir. The reservoir's main purpose now is really a storm detention basin, so that's why it's there, and we just manage the height through either evaporation or through the microfiltration plant.
But given
So it's just the water that's in there is just natural rainfall that falls in there.
No, and I said, because we did have more rain this past year than in previous years, is it too difficult to engineer the water that has been captured to be used towards irrigation, to be used towards our purple lines?
Yeah, actually, it's engineered to put directly into the drinking water system. So there is already a method there to do that, and we have certain protocol that when it reaches a certain height, then we'll drink that water down. By drinking it down, we're putting it into the distribution system for everybody to use it. So that's already engineered into the project.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
So I appreciate the presentation in the water side. It's what I call the shock and awe presentation, where you sort of lay out all the things that we're doing and everything's great, and that's terrific, so I'm happy to hear that. My only question for you regarding what you've laid out is are there any either known vulnerabilities, questions, issues that have come up in the context of, or concerns that have come up in the context of either supporting the Woolsey fire, or because I'm still trying to understand what it is the focus of this presentation really is. You've done a beautiful job indicating how we support fire and what our it sounds like we have a very resilient system with a lot of redundancy. So are we comfortable that the capacity's right, that everything's working correctly, that we've thought of everything? Are there any issues out there that we need to address, any gaps that need to be closed, or was this really to assure us that everything is functioning as it needs to function?
Yeah, I would say that there's always lessons learned in any fire that we see or any event, and we usually go back and try to figure out what we can do better. I would say that one common theme usually with fires is usually the ability to have a reliable source of power. If you happen to be served by overhead lines and there's a fire, it could burn. Like I stated before, we do have many facilities that have backup power using diesel. Obviously, the diesel doesn't give you the same capacity to run all the stations and all the pumps necessarily. So I think usually what we try to do is go back and take a look at that and see if we need to expand our backup power capacity at other key locations. So that will be probably one area. The other area that I will say that I got lessons learned from this particular fire is just improving the safety and wellness of my staff. My staff is actually in the front line of the fire. They're right next to the firemen and women that are fighting the fires. So one of the things that we did is that we ensure that they have the equipment, the proper PPE.
There would be equipment issues.
Absolutely, to make sure that, for example, respirators, the same type of fire jackets that the firemen use, we made a purchase for those as well, because my thing is that my staff is out there sometimes as long as the fire department ensuring there's water, and I want to make sure that their welfare and their well-being is being protected as well. So that was a lesson learned. We immediately made some changes. We immediately purchased the equipment that is needed. So when staff is deployed now, they're able to go with they always had good equipment, but now they have even better equipment, which I think is more in par with the fire department. So to ensure that they're protected while they're fighting the fire.
No, those are two, I think those are two important and interesting observations, especially, and things that may not immediately come to mind, especially around staff, equipment, and the protocols related to their being in a area where there's an active fire taking place. And I would be interested in any outcomes related to your continuing to think about how we accommodate potential power loss. So thank you for that. I appreciate that.
Sure. I'll recover a little more at the end about what we're doing with the fire department as well, give some recent efforts. So.
Okay.
I'll go ahead and let Bill.
Can I just, I'd like to follow up with a question here, around, and I'm just reading, before I came here, I was reading on Twitter how other utilities are raising rates because of the possible cost to, costs implicated to fires and such. And I mean, we have a utility up north that is, has filed for bankruptcy because of fires. So earlier you talked about all of the measures that we're taking, and just now you also talked about in the event that we lose power, we might utilize a diesel to compensate the loss of power or to kind of power. Is that something that we're looking into to change in the future, or is this just how it's going to remain and for how long?
That is the current backup that we use. I think we're always open to new technology that has the same level of reliability that we're looking for. So I would say that right now it's worked really well, but certainly as technology advances and there's more reliable alternative sources of power that would allow us to be basically off the grid temporarily during an emergency, I'm open to it. So when our engineers are designing facilities, they're looking for the latest technology. So if they find something that will be just as reliable, certainly we will look into it.
And what would that be, in your opinion?
Well, it could be a variety of things. I know some people would say, what about solar, for example? Not certain you can get solar power in some of these areas to fire up a pump necessarily. But those are the kind of things that I think you could look at. It's either a generator that you can install, or in our case, the pumps that are actually diesel-driven pumps. But I think that options are as many as new technology arises, we're willing to look at those. And one of the things that we try to do also is we do get together with a variety of other agencies throughout the year, and we do ask them about their fire protection and their backup. Most of the agencies that we spoke to, they all have internal combustion units that they use as a backup. But on a regular basis, we talk, and we always exchange information about new technologies, what works for them, what doesn't work for them. And if we see something that works for another agency, I have no issue implementing it here, because the way I see it has been tested by other folks that are experts in the area as well.
Yeah. Thank you.
Sure.
Okay. Next slide, please. Okay, so this is just kind of reiteration from September, but once again, in 2008, the Board of Commissioners at the time requested the power system look at our construction standards when it comes to overhead assets in the field, especially those assets when they're adjacent to that wildland-urban interface. At that time, we updated our construction standards in those areas. That would be in the California Public Utility Commission's fire map, Tiers 2, Tier 3, and also the LA City Fire Department's brush clearance zones and Bureau of Engineering's high wind zones. Also, Water and Power is an extremely robust inspection and vegetation program. We have over 400,000 trees in our database that we monitor. In 2016, we were compliant. That's when we came to the board with our fire prevention plan. At that time, the Assembly Bill 1028 referenced utilities risk as causing a significant catastrophic wildfire event. And we didn't believe that we had a risk of causing a catastrophic wildfire event. But in the 901, Senate Bill 901, the changes kind of refer to it as a risk of causing a wildfire. So any type of ignition that could cause a wildfire, and it doesn't even have to be from a utility line. It could be from equipment that either the water or the power side uses in the field. Next slide, please. Okay, so again, California Public Utility Commission has a fire map that they updated a couple years back. We have Los Angeles Department of Water and Power employees that work with CAL FIRE, the CPUC, and other fire agencies like LA City Fire to come up with a new version of this fire threat map. Fire threat map has three main zones: Zone 1, Zone 2, and Zone 3. Zone 1 is the gray areas that there's really no fire risk. Zone 2 is a elevated fire risk, and Zone 3, which is a gold area, on that board. I'm not sure if you can see it, but that's what they consider extreme fire risk. So in addition to utilizing this map with our construction standards, we also, our crews and our superintendents use the Navigate LADWP for overlays of our equipment on fire maps. In our construction standards, we increase our conductor sizes in coastal areas with copper, and then in more arid climates with aluminum, steel reinforced wire. We increased our conductor spacing. Where practical, we're the General Order 95, the California orders on utility usage, allows up to 11.5-inch minimum spacing between our high voltage conductors. We took that to 39 inches in these zones. And we replaced low voltage bare conductors with an insulated, suitably insulated conductor. It's insulated to 600 volts for our 240 volt lines.
How long have these standards been in place? Is this something that we have to work towards in our infrastructure, or have we been exercising using these conductors?
Okay, so Commissioner, the standards, we put these standards in place in 2008. So they are part of our specification manual when our crews go out and perform work. So if they go out for maintenance, if a pole needs maintenance, arm replacement, or whatever, they have to build it to these current standards. Or if there's a new business job that's in one of these areas, these wildland urban face areas that fall into Tier 2 or Tier 3 zones, we ensure that the overhead designer designs a job that it meets these requirements. So we've been doing that since 2008.
Yeah, and along those lines, so as we're replacing infrastructure, particularly in the hillside areas where there's a real focus, we're making sure that everything meets these standards.
So the minimum standard for, they call it pole loading, right, or wind loading calculations on the site stress on our power poles and assets. The state requirement is a minimum of 56.6 pounds, somewhere in there, for the site stress pole loading. In these areas, we start at a minimum of 80 pounds. So our wind loading is much higher than what is the standard. And in many cases, we take it beyond there, depending on the terrain, topography, or where this asset is sitting. Now, vegetation management, I mentioned the 400,000 trees in our database. We have certified arborists that go around and perform inspections for us. And we average about 185,000 trees a year as far as pruning and clearing from our lines to prevent any type of contact where it would cause any type of ignition or fire. But I believe last year we pruned over 200,000. And being a wet year that we've had this year, there's a good chance that we're going to prune well over 200,000 trees to ensure that we are keeping our lines at a safe distance from the vegetation. So we have a workforce. The majority of our trees are trimmed by contractors. A lot of our internal forces do that piecemeal work where we get phone calls where it's essential we get a crew out there and do an inspection and a clearance. And then, again, we meet and exceed all state and federal laws and follow the best management practices for tree pruning. Now, when working red flag warning zones, this is something that we came up recently with our fire prevention plan for the 1028, Senate Bill 1028. So basically, in these areas where we have Tier 2 and Tier 3, we have a certain set of standards. We don't perform any work in those areas unless it's critical, right? Working right now with LAFD on a better communication channel back and forth as far as when we do have to go in those areas. Let's say there's a power outage in the area, we need to send crews up. Let's say in the Hollywood Hills where the residents themselves are not allowed to park on the streets during red flag days. We certainly don't want our crews taking up a lane and putting out cones and performing routine work. However, if we do have to go up there, working on a network where we are communicating through our electric trouble board directly to LAFD and notifying where our crews are so they're aware of their location. Tools, as far as tools in these areas, we basically limit all tools that can cause any type of ignition or spark. So generators, no welding, no power tools that, chipping tools that would cause chips or fragments to come off that would create an ignition and dry fuels. Another thing is we require the crews to clear fuels in the area around their work site so that they aren't working in dry grass, which is the fuels that really are the igniters for most fires. And of course, no smoking is allowed in these areas.
So I'll briefly go over what's going on a broader scale than just within the water and power system. So next slide, please. So first of all, you've seen this before, and I think Larry Chapman's sitting here from our risk. He's our risk manager for the department. As you're aware, insurance costs are rising, particularly as a result of wildfire risk, and this is something that's going on throughout the state. As a matter of fact, I was listening to the radio on the way in this morning, and they were talking about the difficulty for home insurance for wildfires, and that there's a lot of people are being priced out of insurance, and at other places, insurers are simply not insuring homes in certain areas. And so the state's actually looking at how it might deal with this issue, whether they might try to set up some kind of catastrophic wildfire insurance fund for homeowners where people buy in much like they buy earthquake insurance. But there's a real issue going on at a statewide level. It's not just with the power industry, but it's the whole fact of homes living in high fire areas. So one of the things that's become apparent is that what's going on in the state is certainly going on with us and the other utilities. I would say that in terms of pricing, we may be better off than some of our other peers who are having a real difficult time getting affordable insurance. As it is for us, our costs have gone up about 20%, and our coverage has gone down about 25%. So you see just a trend what's happened with our insurance costs and the levels of coverage. We did have the one big insurance claim we had. It was about $100 million. That was the powerhouse fire. So $97 million of that was paid by insurance carrier. That was the one that started by San Francisco Power Plant number 1 on that power pole. It was actually, we believe, an equipment failure on a pin that failed. Unfortunately, there was no vendor to go or manufacturer to go after for the failure of the pin. But that dropped the line, and that's when they went up into the Antelope Valley. And so so we did have our own experience with this, certainly nothing of the scale that PG&E or Edison is facing at this point. But we do realize there are some risks, and so our insurance costs are rising. If there are any questions, Larry can certainly answer about that situation. But statewide, we're looking at what's happening in the state of California. So I have a few things that are really themes. One is the fact that power utilities have this kind of unending liability. So there's strict liability laws in California under the California Constitution, and it basically says that the government can't take property from an individual without compensating them. And California and Alabama are the only 2 states that have this strict liability law. And everywhere else, there's proportional liability, where if you have fault, then that limits how much your liability is. In this case, if there's a fire at all touching some aspect of your power facilities, you could end up paying for the entire cost of the fire. And so that's what we're seeing up north. Now, certainly there's questions about maintenance standards and whether people made good decisions or not in some of these fire episodes. But even if you do everything correct by the book, meet every standard there is, over-engineer your system, there's no guarantee that you won't have essentially limitless liability in California right now. This is an issue that's being dealt with. There's a strong reluctance from all the politicians to take on the California Constitution and try to straighten this out. The legislature does have the option to make some declarations. At this point, it's somewhat of a battle between the utility industry, and originally it was going to be the trial attorneys and the insurance companies. But at this point, I think there's enough public sentiment that people regard the power industry as needing to clean up its act. Whether it's completely true or not, that's the sentiment. And so I don't think that there's much of an appetite to make a change in terms of the strict liability. The problem is that without some change in that, we see that the power industry is becoming almost the sole insurer for a lot of these communities, especially as insurance companies find ways to not issue insurance policies or only expensive policies in some of these fire-prone areas.
Yeah, I guess my interests are less general and are far more specific as it relates to mapping, how we map our risk from the footprint of the department, because PG&E has its own issues related to its service areas, the topography, et cetera, as does, down in San Diego, again, a very different. So I would be interested in better understanding, perhaps not today, but better understanding what our perspective is relative to our risk exposure, based on our service area and the topography of our service area. So, I mean, obviously, we're not worried about a wildfire downtown LA or in other areas of the city, but if we are looking over at, I recall, looking at news shots of, the fire burning on both sides of the freeway over by the 405. And that's an entirely different situation in terms of something being sparked there that could be traced back to us and what the risks are to our department and our fiscal viability. So I assume that that as we are analyzing some of these issues, I mean, the overall is what it is, but then the impacts on us are a little more particular. I'd be very interested in understanding that analysis at some point.
Okay. I'll try to touch on that and where we're going with that. So I think the last slide here. So just real quickly, what we have right now, the governor's office has put out a framework for dealing with wildfire. Us, along with all of our colleagues, are commenting on their proposal. They're looking at possibly establishing a statewide catastrophic wildfire fund. There's questions about whether a fund would be used to buy massive insurance policies by putting everyone's money together, but there's doubt that anybody would insure the utility industry at that level. There's also looking at putting the money in a pool where people could draw on it. Now, for us, that could be a Prop 26 violation if our ratepayer money goes to some of the community. And so there's a question about whether publicly owned utilities would be able to opt in or not, and then who would actually opt in to a wildfire fund of that nature. We've had some interesting discussions in Sacramento. Bill's been up there a number of times, and we've testified to different commissions and committees and legislative bodies. There is no silver bullet, and one of the things is that even if you put money in a fund, it's not going to stop it from getting spent every year necessarily, because you could have a repeat fire like we've had the last couple years, and any one of those would deplete any kind of fund. So it's a real difficult issue. The runaway liability is something that's facing the utility industry very large in terms of credit ratings. We had notice from Moody's that although it did not change our rating, it put us on a negative watch, specifically because the state has not dealt with the liability issue. And this is a common theme that we're seeing amongst other utility electricity providers as well.
Is there an analysis, though, that has a spectrum of potential impacts vis-a-vis the utility provider, or is everybody viewed the same way?
It's interesting. So, when we met with our credit rating agencies, the first question each of them asked was, what's going on with wildfire? The very first thing they asked.
And is wildfire something very, when people say wildfire, do they mean any fire, or are they really talking about something very specific as it relates
like
to
a wildlands fire, like in a hillside area or something like that? So the first thing we talk about is the fact that, as Bill's map showed, we don't have a lot of exposure proportionally. We do have some high fire risk. And so certainly we're better off than a lot of agencies. But they also realize that, if you take a like Santa Rosa, where the fire actually got into a community and jumped house to house in a neighborhood. Mm-hmm. And so the kind of fire, kind of a conflagration of fire, which you wouldn't normally have ever seen before. And so they did not do analysis as to really respective to our situation. They also didn't downgrade us, but they put a watch on this. Now, there have been utilities in the state that have been downgraded where they have current lawsuits against them and really pending liability. So we're not downgraded, but specifically in the letter from Moody's that I can share if you're interested, it said, it's really cited that the state's inability to deal with this issue has really put all the credit rating agencies kind of on guard against what's going on in California.
So I guess from my perspective, it would be important to both, continue to participate in the larger solution, the statewide effort, because, everybody's got to have their shoulder to the wheel as it relates to solving the big problem, but also making sure that we are equipped to educate those people like credit agencies and others who are going to have to make fact-based decisions, that we are working to distinguish ourselves from, a utility that has greater exposure, again, based on topography and other kinds of things, so that we're not just being lumped into one single risk assessment, because one size does not fit all as it relates to the various utilities around the state.
And I was going to say, Commissioner, that is exactly the strategy we are looking at following, because you hit the nail right on the head. We want to make sure that any resolution is not a one-size-fits-all throughout the state, but that it reflects the liability and exposure that a utility might have. Like LA's would be very different than PG&E. So we are following the education, any proposed resolution, which hasn't come forward yet, but analyze it and evaluate, again, the costs that would eventually hit ratepayers with the exposure and liability potential that we might have.
So I'll just wrap up by summarizing where we're going. So for what Dave, you said, and you said, because we're the largest public utility in the state, and the largest public power system, everyone is looking to us for what we think and what we would do, even though our situation is very different. We have PG&E with 70,000 square miles of area to cover. Certainly Edison is very spread out over a large area, San Diego Gas and Electric as well. But people want to know what LA thinks, because I've testified to a joint Congress and Senate hearing up north, and Assembly and Senate hearing, and everyone's saying, well, who do you respond to? Who sets rules? Is PUC going to set the rules? So when it was my turn to speak, I told Senator Holden, I said, we know exactly who sets rules. We respond to a board of commissioners who responds to the mayor and the citizens of Los Angeles. And so we don't have stakeholders. We have residents who are at risk of us doing or not doing our job properly. And they're very interested in our take, and certainly it's an opportunity to have input with what's going on in the state, even though we do not face the same exposure, but also to have a positive influence. So we continue to be involved on a variety of levels at the state. There's a committee on catastrophic wildfire cost and recovery that's working on this issue. This is almost all-consuming for the governor at this point, the whole PG&E situation. So it has to get resolved, but it has to be done in a way, as Dave said, that it's not one-size-fits-all. We need to not see our ratepayer money going somewhere else to help a different problem. It needs to stay here to help us in Los Angeles. At the same time, the city has a number of committees working on this. There's been council motions. The genesis of wanting to make sure you were aware of this is the city controller plans to do an audit of our efforts and what we're doing to prepare for wildfire, to make sure that we don't have an undue liability here in Los Angeles. And then just recently, besides what we've worked with the fire department, Chief Terrazas was here last Wednesday to talk about a new partnership to make sure that that not only what we've been doing together, but that they're fully aware of all of our efforts, that we're fully aware of all their efforts, and that we can make sure there's no gaps. So when you talk about an issue such as the Bel Air area or by the 405 freeway, that we fully understand what risks exist for both of us, and try to make sure that they help with education for our crews to make sure that they're safe operating in areas where if a fire breaks out. At the same time, they understand our needs. During the Creek Fire, I believe it was, we had fire that burned up to the ECC, and we had to evacuate. That same fire melted the cover on Verdugo Reservoir, which could have catastrophically affected the water supply. Those are the communication things that need to be solved. Those are things that didn't have to happen. And so we're working closely with the fire department to make sure that they understand what's critical, that they have to protect of our assets to make sure that they can continue to do their job as well. In LA County, when they had the Malibu fire, a lot of LA County fire pump stations do not have backup power. And so without backup power, you had a situation where Edison was looking to shut power off to reduce fire risk. At the same time, the LA County Public Works Department was asking Edison, please do not shut the water off because it's going to affect firefighting. So these are the things that we do not want to have a conflict in LA or be wondering what to do at the time of the fire. So this is the effort that we have going on right now. Fire department has established a number of firefighting facilities and heliports on our property, We're looking for other things that they need so we can make sure that we are in complete agreement on what our efforts are. And Chief Terrazas is imagining that in the very near future, he'd like to take the lead to say how the city is ready to move forward together, ensure the residents how we're prepared for wildfire, what we've done together to minimize risk and to address a fire if it does break out. We know that with the rains we had, we'll have a lot of brush growth. A lot of it won't be as bad as old growth, but liability exists. We were asked, how could liability add up? If you looked at one of Rich's reservoir properties, if you put 1,000 homes around it, that's probably at a minimum $1 billion of liability right there.
So I think that, so from my perspective, this is a very useful presentation, but what would be far more useful as we move forward would be to begin to focus the information on the kinds of things that, for instance, you're discussing now, which didn't come up in either of the other two presentations, as it relates to, as we look at our city, how do we specifically map our risk? And there's wildfire risk, but then to your point, there's the additional issue around these high brush areas up in the hills, and what occurs if a fire then begins to hit homes, and kind of what that means for us, and what are our tailored strategies to deal with those things, because I don't want to get lost in the issues that relate to what PG&E is dealing with, because those aren't our issues. I do believe, and certainly concur, that given our size and our influence, that we want to be at the table as it relates to dealing with some of the larger sort of common issues that could result in statewide legislation. But simultaneously, we want to keep our eye on our ball, which are the much more tailored, focused micro issues that relate to the actual risk that we face, how we're mitigating those risks, and as it relates to the story that we tell, that our story doesn't become conflated with other people's stories, because there are implications for the story you tell. And I think the credit agency ratings is a prime example. Just because you downgrade X doesn't mean you should downgrade us, because our position is materially different from theirs. And we want to be very clear about that as we want to have that clearly developed as well. So I think those are all the comments I have about this.
You were exactly where we were going with the fire department now, and that is to make sure that we have everything seamed together in the city of Los Angeles, and that we've addressed all these issues. We've worked well together over the years, but it's a new level of effort to make sure that we've covered the risks here, and that we have our plans ahead of time and our responses mapped out. And so the next time you hear a presentation on this, other than probably in summertime, Bill will have to bring back the official plan for the state. But the next time you'll hear a report of this, it'll be more focused on just that effort in Los Angeles. And we'll probably be here with the fire department talking exactly about what we're doing here at home. But I want to give you a look at the broad picture, that there are efforts going on here, there are efforts going on in the state. We're involved in all of them. And certainly the ones at the state level are not as pertinent to us, although they can particularly impact us, and we need to make sure that those things get handled in a proper manner.
Thank you.
Any other comments or questions? Thank you very, very much.
Okay, thank you. Thanks, guys.
Okay, we will have our cybersecurity management report. I'm going to propose that we defer the rate reduction bond report in light of the hour. But let's do cybersecurity, then we'll move to the agendized items.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. I'm Stephen Kwok. I'm the Chief Information Security Officer for DWP. I'm here today to present to you the short-term breach contracts on cybersecurity services for your consideration. As you are well aware, our nation's critical infrastructures, such as utilities, are facing significant cyber threats. DWP currently is undergoing a couple of time-sensitive cybersecurity work, and which is necessary to continue in order to protect our customers and our key utility infrastructure operation across the department, while DWP is developing a new RFP. Our prior cybersecurity contract was terminated as of April 13, 2019, and these bridge contracts we're proposing are intended to continue to work while we begin the new RFP process to establish a bench of qualified consultants to provide specialized cybersecurity consulting services on a long-term basis. We have 3 consultants that are coming to you for recommendation for the 60-day contracts. They are Archer Energy Solution, Alden Cyber Solution, and Dragos. These vendors were selected through a competitive process by Southern California Public Authority, SCAPA, utility members, which DWP is part of. The scope of work for the $3.6 million contracts consists of cybersecurity advisory services, cybersecurity program assessment, vulnerability assessments, penetration testing, remediation, incident response, incident management, as well as cybersecurity trainings. The vendors will provide highly skilled professionals in cybersecurity with control system background, which are in high demand across the countries.
Just to be clear, these contracts, they're not union jobs, right? So the $200 to $475 per hour rate is market for cybersecurity these days?
Yes, that's correct. Actually, these are highly skilled. It's not just the entry level or middle management. These are specialized skill that is not only just focusing on cybersecurity or IT, but have an extensive background in the utility space, especially related to industrial control system or SCADA system. So they are not just any cybersecurity expert. So they kind of raise the bar from cybersecurity perspective because of the criticality and the sensitivity in these areas. So I will be the contract contract manager for the contract that we're proposing, with executive oversight by the CAO's office, Ms. Steveners, the COO office, Mr. Adams, as well as from Mr. Wright, the general manager. We will be also providing status report to the CAO's office, as well as monthly to the general manager's office. A regular report will also be provided to the board member. We are piggybacking the SCAPA process and contracts to establish this bridge contract for DWP. In the SCAPA process, DWP teamed up with 11 municipal utilities to develop competitive RFP for experts in the cybersecurity consulting. The consultants recommended for the award to the board had exceptional knowledge, expertise, and skill to perform the work contained in the scope of work. They are also evaluated by a panel consisted of the representative from public utilities and LADWP, and were also the top-ranked respondent. Part of the DWP roadmap for cybersecurity, we are engaging third-party experts such as the former CIA Chief Information Security Officer to conduct a DWP cyber risk review, as well as engaging Department of Homeland Security in reviewing our cyber posture. We are also in the process of developing a new RFP for the bench of qualified consultants through DWP's regular procurement process, specifically seeking expertise in cybersecurity with operational technology background. We are requesting that the board approve the agreement number 47551A, 47551B, 47551C, with Archer Energy Solution, Alden Cyber Solution, and Dragos for 60 days. Thank you.
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
The term of 60 days, does that mean it's completed in 60 days?
The term of the contract is for 60 days. We have identified scope of work that we want to engage. This will be a lot of the initial phase of what we really need to do in terms of continue to enhance our cybersecurity postures. This will be no mean by all the work that we will need to do.
Okay, because somewhere else it said the completion would be within 6 months. So that's different than 60 days. So how do those two dates relate to each other then?
So one of the things that we're trying to, because of the evolving cybersecurity needs and concerns, we wanted to have a very tight management approach to this. We wanted to do 60 days so that we could continue to evaluate and monitor the process and the progress of the work that are being conducted by the various contractors. So this gives us a greater oversight of their work and their performance to make sure that they are meeting our specific needs.
So then it came back to the board.
Okay, then you would come back to the board, where did I see that? In what, in 6 months?
60 days.
60
In
days.
60 days?
Yes. So we will be coming back to the board with additional recommendation or request as we continue to evaluate the effectiveness of the current
In 60
contract.
days?
Yes. Yep.
Okay.
I have a question. If I
Yes,
may
ma'am.
ask. So 60 days, this will come back to the board for them to revise on the scope and the deliverables. In here, you mentioned that the oversight team is Donna, Marty, Mr. Ray, and obviously the Board of Commissioners.
Yes.
Has this executive oversight team been trained on cybersecurity, and what is it that we're looking for? Are we prepared to really analyze? I can tell you because I can. I mean, I will have to learn myself. So if you guys are overseeing this team of highly experts, as you explained earlier, do we know what we're looking for? Or, I mean, fair question.
It's a very fair question. Stephen is our primary expert in cybersecurity. So we'll be looking at his expertise to more of the technical nature and the accomplishment of moving forward on the various tasks that we're looking at. He will be reporting to us and as far as his thoughts on the technical needs, and then we'll be evaluating more on the prioritization, how far it looks like we're moving forward on that over the weekly and biweekly reports. We've also interacted with other members of the city who are also technical experts and asked them to review what we're doing and what's proposed for moving forward. And then finally, as Stephen said, having the experts come in and evaluate where we are and where we're moving that have a background in either CIA or the Homeland Security Department.
So basically, Mr. Wong, you are bottom lining all of the efforts around cybersecurity?
I'm sorry.
Are you the person in charge of basically all of our cybersecurity?
Yes, I am.
Okay. How long have you been with the department?
Actually, yesterday was 7 years, I think.
His 30th year, he just doesn't look it.
Well,
Yes.
congratulations for being with us for such a long time. I'm asking because the issues of cybersecurity change so rapidly. As you, an expert,
Absolutely.
you understand that. And I just want to make sure that we're contracting for $3+ million with three different companies that will be providing us. And I just want to make sure that we have the team and the experts in place to be able to supervise them. because as you know, cybersecurity is something very complex and it's not so very straightforward. Things disappear, things appear. You can kind of trace it with IPAs and such, but sometimes you can't. There's encryption, there's not. So I just want, this is the first time I see you, so it's very nice to meet you, and goodbye, because I'm leaving. Both all at once. But I just want to make sure that you feel that you have all that you need and that you have this of expertise to carry on, because as you know, this is coming from a whole track of different issues.
I absolutely agree with you, and that's one of the reasons why we are engaging the way we are doing right now, to have this 60 days so that we could have tight control. And as we move forward, we're not just looking at the end game. We want to make sure that the path to this end game, or if there's such a thing as an end game for cybersecurity, is actually correct and able to be sustainable by the department for the long haul. So I totally agree with you.
Okay, and wait, I'm sorry, I have one more
I
question.
should just
you wanna
also
follow
add
up?
that we are bringing in outside cybersecurity experts to periodically review the progress.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
And that's what we're engaging with. Actually, I just got off a call with a Secret Service agent from a DHS to actually engage in a lot of the continuous evaluation work that we're doing.
Okay, last question. So these 3 companies, Archer Energy, Arden Cyber, and Dragos, I believe that one of these companies was related to a former contractor that we have, which was Avantador, and I believe Arden Cyber Solutions are now an independent company that has nothing to do with Avantador. Is that correct?
That is correct. The company was sold to a new owner as of March 15, 2019. And the new owner, Ryan Clark, is the sole owner of the company, and then changed the name from the previous Aventador Utility Services to the new company, Arden Cyber Solution.
And how are you going to ensure that even though we're going to have the same body of employers, but maybe not the sole owner of the company, how are you going to ensure that these folks are going to do an independent, good job for the department and protect our cyber world? How can we ensure that once we ended a contract with one of our former, vendors, employees, and now we have a new company, that there's no either conflict, connection, or maybe even retaliation?
From the previous owner?
Commissioner Vasquez, there were never any questions raised about the capability of the employees of that company. They actually are I don't know if you've had the opportunity to review their backgrounds and track records, but they are highly regarded cybersecurity experts, and everything we know about them, which is a lot, is that they are highly qualified. The ownership of the company is completely different.
Okay. I wanted to make sure that that's on the record, because I think it can be tricky that, one company, March 19th, it was like a month ago or such. Everything is happening very quickly, and I want to make sure that this is on the record, that this is a new ownership, that this is a new company, and that they are looking out for the department's best interests, and that none of the money that is going through this contract is going to the former owner of Avantador.
That's correct.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
That's correct.
I'd like to add just a very quick comment. I don't know if you had the chance to watch the last 60 minutes, but I really think it's worthwhile, especially for you since you're leading cybersecurity. There was an episode directed solely towards cybersecurity and how the FBI had been targeting these hackers. It took them over 10 years to find the responsible parties, but they did. Watching that narrative, they did address who was able to help them in terms of like the cybersecurity experts. And so I would request that long term you reached out to these 2 companies who are the best in their field and in their practices, so that we at least get a bit from them.
Yes, definitely.
Good idea.
I just have a couple items. One, The presentation makes reference to the termination of a former cybersecurity contract. I think that's not quite accurate. The former contract was not a cybersecurity contract. There were services that were provided under that contract related to cybersecurity, but I just want to be really clear as we're moving forward, that we're moving forward in a way that's very accurate about how we are describing what it is that we're doing. So as far as I know, these will be the first companies engaged to provide actual cybersecurity services to the department. And Christina, to your point, among the things that it's my understanding that will be occurring over this period of time, both over the next several months, will be a much larger and more comprehensive outside review of where we are, and internally that the team will be working on a specific strategy that will inform how we move forward from a contracting perspective long term. So that's part of the work to be done independent of this work that's taking place. I'm curious about, just because I wasn't aware of it, you referenced the committee headed up by Marty as part of the oversight structure. So could you tell me what that is? Somebody.
Okay. As part of the governance, we realized that there is a whole list of needs related to IT. And so in an effort to determine priorities, we established a committee that Marty heads up, that we meet on a weekly basis to set the priorities for the various task orders.
How long has this committee been?
3 or 4 months?
Yeah, because just on that point, we sat through today, a 40-minute presentation on wildfire preparedness, when clearly as I've been here for the last X number of months, what has emerged as a clear and present threat to this department is technology. And I haven't seen a comprehensive presentation on that, the status of our technology department-wide, not just the billing system. I think there's been a huge focus on the billing system, and clearly that was important. But everything from HR technology, the fundamental operating systems at this department are critically and woefully out of, antiquated and inadequate to support the operations of this agency. And so it's that I need to understand as a commissioner, and I've said to others in private conversations, but I want to be really clear on the record. I'm beyond frustrated with presentations that relate to contracts that aren't preceded by a much larger overarching understanding of what the strategy is for meeting critical operating issues related to this department. And this is not something that is just a management responsibility, and that is one of the huge concerns of mine, that there's this bottleneck at the management level, so that what's presented to this board is the outgrowth of whatever it is that you're doing, but not the actual strategy, priority, et cetera. And from my perspective, understanding how we're prioritizing our technology remediation system or department-wide, and who's responsible for it, how it's being implemented, what the time frame is, what the end goals are, that is critically important, and I have no idea. So I'm very supportive of this work. I've spent a lot of time with Stephen and have a great deal of confidence in his ability to manage moving forward the areas under his control. Have spent a good deal of time with Mr. Carr, but am not confident that there is a holistic, coordinated, comprehensive, both technology strategy, let alone cyber. We don't need to be hacked. We can collapse just from everyday general operations, given where we are. So I'm not convinced that that exists. And at the same time that we're working on this, I'm looking for, in addition to the request that is outstanding regarding the Aventator issue, which is very separate, more importantly is a report about how we're approaching technology generally in this agency. And given that budgeting is coming up, I mean, I think it needs to come very quickly because we need to understand how resources are being allocated toward that, and timing is incredibly important. And that we'll talk about in the context of item 18, because I'm concerned that we don't have schedules that we stick to in this particular area in the same way that we have schedules around construction and the other operating systems. So didn't quite mean to go on that tangent, but anyway, I'm done.
General Manager, do you have?
We will bring that back. Yes, it's in development, and we will be bringing that back.
You'll bring it back when?
I'll confer with staff. What would be a
So right now, Louis Carr and I are working on an overall technology plan that I think the ad hoc committee requested, and so I would like to take it to that committee first, and probably 60 days.
45.
Okay.
When does the budget need to be adopted?
It has to be adopted by May 31st. We were planning to bring it to the board May 14th, but we could do the second board meeting if that were appropriate.
So you should be thinking about it in connection with the budget.
So there are major technology projects in the budget already.
But if we don't have a strategy and we haven't identified priorities and you're not complete with all of that and you haven't done a more comprehensive look, then, I mean, there's one thing to keep chasing the emergency or the bright, shiny object that everybody knows about, but buried underneath is all of this other stuff that doesn't surface. And that, to me, is the piece that we need to understand and look at. And you get to tell us what you think the priorities are, but we also get to weigh in on that. And so to the extent that we have a budget that's coming into focus, then we need to understand how that's going to show up in the context of the budget.
Okay.
I understand that Ted Ross is here. Would you mind giving us your take on this report? You were hiding in the back.
Oh, just, yeah. Us IT folks are always hiding in the back. It's just the way of working in technology.
That's what I did in law school.
Fair enough. Ted Ross, I am General Manager of the Information Technology Agency, and so I'm certainly very familiar, both with Stephen, with the management team, and very familiar with the cybersecurity topic. Among many of the responsibilities of my department is the Chief Information Security Officer for City proper, the Council Control Department. So we end up impacting 38 or so different departments and the cybersecurity status on that. I think this commission very clearly understands the era we're in. We have done a great job as a society of using technology. We use it as consumers, we use it in our business, it makes us much more efficient, makes us much more effective, and we can do things completely unimaginable in the past. But the other side of that sword is the need to secure our digital assets. The more that we bring online, the more that we connect together, the bigger foothold and the bigger stake it is for someone to penetrate a network and gain access to critical customer billing information, or God forbid even impact, in your case, the water and the power distribution. DWP has a unique role as a critical infrastructure and as a critical utility, which, as Stephen was mentioning before, it's commonly known as highly targeted, not just in the United States, but even around the world. And you can target it as someone around the world. You don't have to be in Los Angeles to attack DWP. You can very conveniently doing it from any country in the world, from just about any computer or sets of computers, and you could even do it as a state-sponsored item too, to add on top of that. So you can have the might of a government attacking infrastructure when they choose to do so. When it comes to the discussion here today, we of course highly support efforts by DWP to improve your cybersecurity posture. We see it. I'll start off with selfishly. We're highly connected with DWP, even from a network perspective. So if there's a weakness or a breach from DWP, it impacts the rest of the city and vice versa. In addition to the fact, we of course support and we understand the unique requirements of you as a utility. We reviewing, or I should say I, reviewing the contract as well with my Chief Information Security Officer, I certainly appreciate the fact that DWP is pursuing cybersecurity contractors because we highly respect the work of city employees and we rely on them heavily in our organization. I know DWP does too. But when you combine the expertise of city employees with the changing expertise of cybersecurity contractors, that's the right 1-2 combination. The DWP employees highly understand the networks, they understand the infrastructure, they understand servers, they understand applications, and the cybersecurity professionals can bring in that additional capabilities that they're uniquely aware of and that they're really familiar with. I believe Commissioner Vasquez was describing it quite well, of the nature of a changing threat out there. Every year, every 6 months, every 3 months, at times every week, we're seeing changing types of attacks, and it's important for the contractors to be available for that. I also appreciate the fact that the selected vendors through this competitive process had infrastructure experience. It wasn't just your classic run-of-the-mill, so to speak, cybersecurity professionals. They're those who understand the impacts to the electrical grid. They understand the challenges facing water distribution. There are, as Stephen was mentioning, very specific skills around SCADA systems, industrial control, et cetera. It is a very specialized topic that requires specialized protection, and so we appreciate that. As the Commission knows, cybersecurity is an ongoing effort. You can never check the box and say you are done. Both in city proper as well as here at the Department of Water and Power, you have to take aggressive stance to get yourself into a posture, and then you have to maintain that posture. So certainly, and from my perspective as Chief Information Officer for the IT agency serving under Mayor Eric Garcetti, based on my review and based on my input, we highly support the efforts that DWP is taking, and we also can echo the sentiment of the fact that this is not some small, narrow, niche type of conversation. The security efforts themselves are on the IT infrastructure in general. So the technology strategy, the efforts to secure across physical security is also included in this conversation. It is a holistic, overarching effort, and so we'll always support DWP's efforts to approach it that way.
Thank you very much. We appreciate your leadership and we appreciate this thoughtful commentary.
My pleasure.
Thank you. Dr. Pickle, do you have anything on this? We can consider this part of item 17 as well. We'll just go straight to that.
We've spent a lot of time on this and some associated contracts over the last couple months. The shortening of the time period to 60 days and the reduction of the dollar amounts to that period reduced some of our concerns, but we have other concerns going forward that we understand management has protections that they are putting in place over this period, and in particular, broadening the scope of the experts that they use is very important beyond the short list shown in these contracts.
Thank you.
I have a question for Dr. Pico. Dr. Pico, what's your opinion around the competitive process by SCAPA to choose these 3 vendors?
It was a first step, and I think it's important that we keep expanding this list of potential experts.
And that's actually something that we are doing from the SCAPA perspective. We have 34 respondents to the original SCAPA RFP. We need to take it a step at a time. So we actually are evaluating, the SCAPA members are evaluating at least 31 of them. 4 of them was non-responsive. But for those that did respond, they are evaluating them, and as they roll into this overall contracts, that's something that we'll be moving forward as well.
It should be emphasized, as Stephen already did, but perhaps in light of these questions, I should underscore it, that this is a short-term bridge proposal. This is just a proposal to deal with the urgent cybersecurity issues that we know are on the table now, and that will give us over a 6-month period, 60 days being the first third of that, an ability to think through very comprehensively the longer-term strategy.
Yes.
And we will be casting a wide net in the course of that. I think that this presentation essentially serves as the presentation for item 17 as well, unless there's anything you want to add in the context of the specific proposal to approve the agreements.
Nothing else to add.
I move approval of item 17.
Second?
Second.
Those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
That's unanimous. Thank you very much. Okay, we have items 16 and 18. Item 16, Commissioner Barad.
Yes, as our board will recall that I had asked for an inventory of those properties owned by DWP that weren't being used, that could be used for support housing for the homeless. And I was really very gratified to see that we are doing that with the Sherman Way Navigation Center project. Is this the first step in this process? Are we going to get that list? Because I still haven't, it's been more than 45 days and I haven't gotten the list. But is this the first step in this?
Actually, hi, Commissioners. I'm Masood Saburi. I'm the Real Estate Director.
I'm Matt Hale with Councilman Paul Krikorian's office.
Hi, Matt.
Hi, Elise Matson from the Office of the City Administrative Officer.
So to answer your question, no, this is not the first step. I'm part of a committee that we meet on Tuesdays, actually right about now, 1 to 2 p.m. And we'll go through a number of sites. A few of them came from DWP, from water system, power system. And we are working on those, so they be part of the HHH committee that we are up for consideration. So this is only one item. This came to you last year, December. And this is an agreement between us and the GST, General Services. And I'm here again because there was minor differences between the two agreements, the one that went from the GST to the City Council to be approved, and the one that we had. And I wanted to make sure these two agreements are mirror image. That's why we are here. This site has been the day laborer site since 1990. And actually, in response to the mayor's task force on homelessness and inquiry for the city administrative office, the subject property was identified to be added as a location for homeless navigation and storage to the existing day laborer. So again, no, we have a number of sites that we work through, and this is only one of them that the agreement has to be going through between GST and us. GST has already approved it. The City Council, through that route, is already approved this agreement, and this is our route to approve the agreement through us, through our board.
It's over 30,000 square feet. That seems like it's large.
It is a large property. I had, let me go through. So this is a day laborer, as I said, and GST will be, our agreement is with GST, DWP with GST, and GST will be having agreement with Youth Policy Institute and LA Homeless Services. This will be serving the individuals, families, and youth experiencing homelessness. And there is about 120 bins in there that they would use for storage. And the proposed agreement is about 5 years plus 3 5-year option. And this is the site that we have. And it is about over 30,000 square foot, yes. And it's being used as a day laborer, but it's kind of run down right now.
Do people stay there, or are they just there during the day?
They're there only during the day.
During the day.
Yes.
So the new use
it's not going to be bridge housing because it's
Oh,
under
it's
the
not.
power line. So what it is storage for personal property, which is an issue.
Ah.
So that's the bins that Masood's talking about. So this is actually an interesting situation. It's wedged between the power lines and a key water line of Rich's that goes down and brings water to downtown. And so it's in a space that's able to be used safely. We don't believe it's safe or appropriate for habitation, but storage of personal items has been an important issue for the homeless community. And so it'll provide that as well as the laundry and shower and restroom facilities.
Oh, so it's going to have that. The bins, you mean like lockers for people to put their...
The bins are, right, they're the same as what we use as maybe, right, and
Yeah.
then they have locks, so the users would come in, they check them out.
Okay.
They use whatever they want in there, and then again, they check them back in.
Is their facility here going to serve food?
They do have an eating area, and
I don't think it's a proposal to have any kind of a commercial kitchen facility, but if the contractor who operates the facility wanted to bring in a separate contractor that would deliver food, they could do food service there as well.
You can do food. And what about allowing the homeless people to bring in their pets?
there is a pet area, I think, that is to the north or wherever they were going to put it. So.
It's going to have a garden area.
There's already a garden area on the site of the Day Labor Center facility. I think what we'll do is work with LASA to ensure that their contractor provides for some sort of accommodation for pets.
For pets.
Ultimately, the department nor the city will actually be the one operating the facility on a day-to-day basis. There's going to be a competitive solicitation through the Homeless Services Authority for the kind of specialized service providers that do this sort of work. And we can make sure that that's baked into their RFP.
Because it's really a shame when people will not leave their encampment because they don't want to leave their pets. And I think it'd be something we should look into, allowing them to bring a pet.
Most of the sites that we are working on the committee, they do have pet area, and they do consider that.
Well, that's good.
Yeah.
I'm glad to hear that.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I think from our standpoint, we're not restricting anything. It's us making a certain piece of property available for this use, which is consistent and appropriate with our own needs for the areas around it within the power line right away. But the rest of the homeless committee and the city, they have an organization that dictates exactly how to go about, the details of pets and property and all those sorts of things.
The power line is right above this building?
Yes, this is a Whitnell Highway running down right at an angle through the valley. So so it's a big power line right away, and it's hard to see in the drawing, but there's dual power
On
lines
Sherman
right
Way?
It's crossing
Yes,
Sherman. It's crossing Sherman Way.
Yeah, on the bottom is the Sherman Way, and the power lines are on the top, and on the east side there is major truck line, and we had to work with the water system, and they supported us to make sure that we can put the buildings that they need and how far and everything.
Okay. But now, as general services, are they going to supervise this, or
They'll
is
be
Lasha-
supervising it, and they'll be
Lasha?
contracting with the two entities that I mentioned, that Youth Policy Institute and the LA Homeless Services. They'll be contracting with them. We won't be doing that.
All right, so theoretically, the homeless then would put stuff here during the day, and then where do they go at night? Back to their encampments?
This is going to be kind of a check-in and check-out system, so the homeless person will be able to store their belongings there overnight. We are planning to have regular hours so that they will have a predictable time that they can come back and retrieve their belongings if they need to go out and get something. Those can all be adjusted over time as we see how the facility is being used. This will actually be the first operating facility navigation center in the city. So we're, to a degree, kind of learning as we go and trying to anticipate what the needs are, but we have no idea what the rate of utilization is going to be and what the specific needs of that specific homeless population will have. The challenge with all of this is that homelessness is a very individual problem. It's a very case-by-case, person-by-person challenge to deal with this. So the suite of policy solutions that you have to have is wide and broad, and we're trying to accommodate as many of the concerns as possible without making it a complete unmanageable kind of process.
Okay, now, and it's called navigation because what, people are navigating back and forth? I mean, what's the?
Well, the intention behind navigation centers, at least in other jurisdictions where these have been deployed before, has been that they help you navigate all of the bureaucracies and programs and services. Right. So part of the intention here is to actually have some classroom space at the facility that will be used for a variety of service providers. So if you need help with Social Security Administration, we'll have them come in and issue a Social Security card. If you need a driver's license or an ID card, we'll have DMV come in and provide those services.
Okay.
So that will be, again, an obligation of the contract provider that LASA selects in order to make sure that they are bringing in a wide range of different services to help the homeless population
Now,
in that
the
area.
people can take showers here and?
Yeah.
Right, we do have showers and we do have laundry facilities.
And what, laundry?
Laundry facilities.
Very good, okay. Okay, so Astrid, where do we stand then on getting the list?
I hate to say that, but you should have the list already maybe in your inbox, but let me check on it because we did send it through a week or so ago. So
No, haven't
I'll
seen
check
it.
on it. You should have it before the next meeting.
Okay. Yeah. And hopefully in the future, we can get some of these facilities as a homeless, for people to live.
I find, just following up on your questioning, I'm reviewing the contract, and of course, I think, it's the proper thing to do to partner up with the city to address our homeless situation. But going through the contract and what you described, why is there a provision for child support assignment orders? I mean, if they're not spending the night there, why would that pertain to this contract? I just want to have a clear understanding as to what will be going on there.
Tim. Good afternoon, Commissioners. This is Tim Chung. I'm with the City Attorney's Office. It's one of the standard provisions that's required by city ordinance. It's just a requirement that it's not necessarily for the people who are visiting it, but it's for the contractors who are going to be working on site. So the companies that LASA or GSD hired to come on to provide the services, they will have to comply with those requirements.
Okay, and then and just so that we're completely, bless you, just so that we're completely transparent here, we are working with the city, providing an outstanding rate, $1 per square foot. But aside from that, we're not responsible for anything else, right? So General Services is providing the insurance, they're providing the lockers, the staff, all of that?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. Good. Thank you.
Other questions, other comments? Is there a motion?
I move that we approve item, this is number 17? No, 16. Number 16.
I second whatever the item is. 16. Those in favor?
Item 16.
Aye.
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 Thank you very
This
much.
is a sequence.
Aye.
It's unanimous gradually.
Okay,
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay, folks, we have one further item on this agenda. I'll actually, before, I skipped over, and we'll go back to monthly reports and the minutes. So, power system for March,
The reports
as
are
well as RPS for March.
both reports are in your packet, and I'll be happy to take any questions.
Questions? Hearing none. We have two sets of minutes to be approved. First, the special board meeting of April 2nd, at which all members were present other than Commissioner Noonan. Is there a motion to approve those board minutes?
So moved.
Second, those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, they're approved. And then the special board meeting of April 9th, at which Commissioners McLean, Hill, Noonan, and Barad were present. Is there a motion among those three participants to approve those minutes?
So moved.
Second.
Those in favor?
Aye.
They're approved as well. Okay, that leaves us before the closed session with item 18. And I think this was requested by Commissioner McLean Hill. So I defer to her.
Thank you.
Hi, good afternoon, Commissioners. I'm Greg Kung, Chief Information Officer of Customer Building and System Support. I'm joined by Terry Halbert, Assistant Director of Customer Building and System Support. We are here to request for your approval for an amendment number 4. Let me get the PowerPoint started. Let's see. Item 18. I don't see item 18 on the slide.
18. There is no PowerPoint.
Oh, there's no PowerPoint? There. I was told there was one. So, sorry if you give me a minute. I think I come prepared. I can just bring it up.
I haven't seen it. I think he means.
Okay.
Oh.
I'll put it on. Okay, all right, thanks.
Okay. Where is that?
Okay, thanks. Sorry about that.
Excellent.
All right.
Oh, okay. Thank you. So we're here before you to request for your approval for an amendment number 4 to agreement number 47083-2 with Trimble Navigation Limited. The purpose of the contract is to provide application support for our water outage management system, eRespond. To give you a little bit of background, this contract was initially established in 2012 to implement the eRespond water outage management system. Since then, it's been amended 3 times. In this amendment number 4, we are asking to extend the term by 3 years with a new ending date of April 22, 2022, and to add $900,000 to the contract to a maximum of $4.36 million. So extending this contract will allow us to continue to get assistance from Trimble on an as-needed basis to provide support for our water outage management system, eRespond. eRespond is used to track and analyze customer-reported incidents related to water leaks and water qualities, and is also used to track and analyze pre-planned water maintenance, which require all the affected customers to be pre-notified. Since for the past 2 years, we've been working with Trimble to add additional software functionalities to eRespond and to provide additional KPI reports, key performance indicators, and water incidents reports, and timely communications to caller regarding outage resolutions. Currently, we are working to upgrade our customer information systems, CIS, to a new version that is supportable by Oracle. That includes the Oracle's customer care and billing, mobile workforce management, and service-oriented architecture. And the target timeline for that is the 4th quarter of this year. So eRespond is one of the many systems that interface with CIS, and it is expected that we would need Trimble's help to do any modification with the interfaces to work with the new version. So with that, I would like to request for your approval for this amendment, and we're happy to answer any questions that you have.
I have a question. Will you be reporting back regarding the tracking and analysis of customer-reported incidents regarding water leaks and water quality concerns?
Yes, we can work with water operations to provide a report back.
How often would you be making a report here?
actually, water quality issues are part of our equity metrics, and we report on that every February and August.
Every what?
February and August.
Okay.
So my questions really go to a couple of things that seem to come up not infrequently. So you indicated, the board report indicated that that April 2012 was when we initially entered into the contract, and we're now looking to extend the contract to 2022.
Yes, and
so we're essentially looking, so an engagement that was a 3-year engagement is about to become a 10-year engagement. So that's one. My other question really goes to, because I'm unclear as to how the work and amendments relate to the scope that we initially contracted for. Like, is there a point at which the scope has been achieved, and then perhaps we should be formulating a new contracting process? Or do we just keep expanding the scope, which I have some difficulty with? And if the scope isn't achieved and it's taking 10 years, then what does that say about timing, management, timelines, et cetera? So this is a prime example of it being very unclear what's occurring, except extension of contracts, and in this case, extensions of contracts coupled with, a $1.8 million increase in the contract amount. So
hopefully I can help to clarify some of that. My understanding is that back in 2012, the initial contract was established to implement the e-response system. So we selected the e-response software solution from Trimble. We need an integrator to implement it. That was why the initial contract was established at $2.5 million. So to that objective, it was achieved because there was a project implementation plan at the end. e-response was implemented. So the subsequent extension for that is to provide avenue to continue to get help from Trimble, because after we implement the system, we still need continue ongoing support. There are two aspects to the e-response software solution. One is the software maintenance, which is separate from this. This is basically our licenses and update that allows us to get periodic updates, security updates, so that sort of thing to keep the system running. And then we have this contract, which gives us an avenue to get professional services from Trimble to do work on an as-needed basis. So for example, if we need help with adding functionalities such as reports, communication mechanisms to the customers, this is when we would engage them. So the $900,000 is only used on an as-needed basis as project comes up. So recently, as we're submitting this amendment for approval, we've had an extensive conversation with the OPA's office on where it stands, asking very similar questions that you just asked, Commissioner. And as the latest update just this morning, we had a meeting with the operation water distribution, and we decided to start an RFP process to look for a possible replacement of this solution, because we understand 10 years is up, we can't keep on going forever.
that doesn't make me more inclined to approve this. It just does not. I only because again, and these are issues that are fundamental issues around operation and management, and also accountability, and this sort of discovery by contract. And I recognize that, the department, because of its size and the, and the rates, has a very, very large operating budget. And these seem like small amounts, but it just, you know, I'm not the person that spends most of my time talking about ratepayers, but there really does have to be a lot more rigor associated with decisions that are made around how we spend our money, what value we're getting for our money, how we're monitoring that, and the fallback can't just be, let's extend the contract, and oh gee, let's put more money here. It also seems to have, I mean, sort of, it gives the impression that you get a contract and you could be here for 20 years on the same contract. And it's my experience, frankly, that the quality and competitiveness of some companies, I'm not saying this one, but some companies fluctuate over time, which would be a reason to be evaluating your decision making. So I'm unclear as to what services are being provided, why those services need to be provided, how this fits in our overall strategy. And also, I'm just really unclear about what the accountability and oversight is of these efforts.
Well, perhaps someone could explain what the downside would be if this contract, if this amendment is not approved. What would we lose?
So to keep the software running, we have the software and maintenance agreement, which should keep the system up and running. But my understanding is that we have a number of modifications in the system since we developed it. If we run into issues, we would need them to come in and support it. So the downside of not renewing it, this is that if any one of those parts of those components are, for whatever reason, not functioning well, we would not have a way of getting Trimble to come in to provide support. Currently, because this is a proprietary software, Trimble is the only vendor that could provide it. But that said, there is a conscious effort to do a new RFP to look for a possible replacement of the solution, knowing that with this $900,000, knowing that effort is underway, we don't expect to have any more new work to be done. So this $900,000 covering next 3 years is more, my understanding is that it's more or less like an insurance, because, you know, as we are going through an RFP to select a new vendor, it really doesn't make sense for us to put forth a lot of effort into new modification and new functionality with the existing system.
What if we were to approve it for 1 year and try to obtain the new RFP during that time period?
The time estimate of doing the RFP would be more than 1 year. In the initial estimate was 3 years, but from this morning's meetings, there's interest from all parties to fast track it. We don't have a timeline yet, but 1 year would make it challenging to complete the RFP, and then we'll be back into the same situation next year. But knowing that we only use it on an as-needed basis, and there's really no, I don't see any enhancement work in the future that would use this.
So Greg, let me clarify, because there are 2 projects that I think are very important that need to be included. One being the interface of the current system with our new version of CIS. So that is critical work that does need to happen in the next year, so that a year would work. The other also is critical in that we are working on trying to enhance customer service. And as you may recall, when we had the heat storms, there was a lot of discussion about customers being called about the outage and being returned calls, and couldn't we text them or send emails or enhance customer service? And that is one of the tasks that is on here, is to figure out a way to
Is that a new
enhance
is that an enhancement of the scope, or was that included in the in the original scope of the RFP?
It was not in the original scope of the RFP.
So we just contract with people and then start giving them new scopes of work and just applying new money toward it without any real process other than they're here and let's just go there?
Well, there's a certain life of each of the software products. This one probably has outlived its life for a few years, but generally you try to get at least 5, maybe even 10 years out of a software product. And a lot of times new technology comes along, enhancements come along. In this case, this was, as I understand, the best product at the time when they went out to select it. Since this has happened, new technologies come out. There's a lot of deficiencies from the discussion we had this morning with the water operations staff. They need more enhanced field ability to do, stuff in the field and mobile. This system didn't have it. So there's a lot of things that this was a basic system.
Well,
I don't think it's been improved a lot.
Conversations that you had this morning, but this has been on the agenda since well before this morning. So I assume that you have a rationale for this that isn't dependent on what you learned this morning. And if that's not the case, or let me just say it differently, it would be useful to understand and for there to be some common approach to what's needed, how much is needed, and for how long. Because what it sounds like is 3 year, it sounds like we've got this 3-year window because we know whatever we need to figure out, we will have figured it out in 3 years. And we've got $900,000 because we either need it to do what you said, or we don't need it, but just in case. And those things don't really work. We should understand exactly what we're asking people to do, how much money we want to have set aside for it, and what the specific objectives are, so that, a year from now, or 2 years from now, or if it's 3 years from now, if I want to understand whether we met those objectives, I have something to refer back to. But right now, there doesn't seem to be anything other than they're here. I get they've got a system that may require some level of support, so we don't want to not have a relationship that will allow us to get that support. That's different from there's some specific integration work that needs to occur and some additional capacity that needs to be developed for our water. That's a whole different rationale. And I don't know how the dollars align to that rationale or the time frame. And then, there's also the comment that, they're not, you said they've outlived their usefulness at this point. Well, okay, so what does that mean as it relates to what you're seeking to do here?
So our systems were, first of all, when you buy, as Donna said, when you buy a system, you don't usually look at saying, we're going to expend $2.5 million to utilize a system for 3 years. We want to utilize this system until the life cycle of it either ends or it's more cost effective to go out and purchase a new system. But beyond that, last summer we were directed to go out and significantly improve our outage notification systems, both for power and water. When they were purchased more of how can we take the outage notification and display it on a screen. The requests were now, how can we take outage notification, go into the CCB or customer billing system and pull out information such as emails and phone numbers so that we could start sending out texts or mass phone calls based on specific geographic areas that were tied to water mains, tied to power lines, or tied to a number of different areas. The upgrading of the outage systems made no sense until the CCMB upgrade is finished, because you're looking at programming to a system that is about to expire. And so the analysis is, was very specific. What can we do in the short term versus what can we do in the long term to improve the outage notification so that we can send the text messages and the phone notifications to customers, and then they can eventually text us back, and it will go into a system that will automatically go into the customer care and billing system, identify where that customer is served, and upload that and send out crews so that we can go respond to those outages as soon as possible. Both the power and water systems, outage notification systems, need upgrading. And so part of what's being looked at is what can be done over the next year period during that time when the CCB system is being upgraded to the fifth upward version, or about one of a number, fifth or sixth version upgrade from the one that we have. And then how do we balance what we're utilizing and spending with updating an old system that we know is about, it really needs to have an upgrade, because some of the outage notification systems as well, as Donna said, didn't have the texting capability, didn't have the phone capability when we entered into it. And what is the analysis right now for timing, for cost, and for looking at a system that could work in the interim until we come back with a full process of going through an RFP, looking at our current functionality.
So is that
looking
what's
at the
reflected in this
interaction.
request? Because that's not what I heard. So if you can tell me how that ties to this specific request, that would be great. Otherwise.
Well, it sounds like, if I'm understanding Dave correctly, that the timely, if nothing else, the timely communication to callers on outage resolution, as well as the other items that are set forth in the second paragraph, that's what's in this request.
So, and that will be done not in 3 years, but in 1 year.
Well, I'm not sure that that's what he said.
No, he said short term, because again, part of this goes to the issue of what is the scope, what services are we contracting for, how is it being managed, what's the outcome? So that's.
And the CCB upgrade?
Let me just say, I mean, I'm very sympathetic to your procedural concern. I think it's appropriate. But if, in fact, we will lose the ability to accomplish these component parts that are in this report by, and it was I who came up with the one-year idea, but if that will deprive our customers of having access to these items, I think it would be putting principle above.
No, I agree with you. I just want to make sure that approving this contract will result in that, because that wasn't what was said earlier. So I'm okay with it. I just want to be clear about what the approval of the contract will result in. And
so this will allow us to get through to the new CCB and perform an RFP. And if you recall, the implementation of CCB has gone on a bit of a hold for a couple months while we bring forward a new contract for an implementer of that system. That system was part of a previous.
No, I understand that. My only point is, again, so, and we don't have to belabor this. It's fine. My only question, because it could be that this is an item that's premature, that you don't know the answer yet, and that there's no reason to act on this today until you've determined, based on all these other unknowns, what you're actually going to achieve vis-a-vis this contract, and how much money and how long the amendment actually needs to be. Or it could be that you already know, and that's why it's in front of us, and I just am unclear listening to you right now which one it is.
So until the CCB is up, tested, and running, it could take 12 months or it could take 18 months. If we've been asked, as we have by the board, to improve, and the mayor's office, to improve our outage notification, staff will then look at what we need, look at what can be improved and makes financial cost benefit sense on this program and by working with the vendor, saying, can we do text messages? How many text messages can we do? What requires an upgrade? What doesn't require an upgrade? If it costs $300,000 to get that information for a 1-year period of time, I completely agree with you. That doesn't seem to be as cost effective as far as perhaps doing a few smaller incremental approaches and saving that extra money to purchase a new system, which we know is likely to be the case when we go through an RFP. But doing the RFP and racing through that process also doesn't make sense, because then we're going to have a new vendor and an old billing system, and we would not want to put all of the programming into tying that contract to the old billing system. So some of it is evolutionary, and some does depend on when a system goes in, when the testing is done, if there's issues with the testing for a CCB, say, to go back and make sure that system is running absolutely precise. And if that takes an extra 2 months beyond what was originally anticipated, you don't put the system in early, you keep the testing up until you make sure the programming works. Then once that's done, you start a process of the outage notification efforts, so that you're working with a system that is completely workable, billing accurately, has the addresses correctly, all the information in. And so sometimes you can't give the exact date that it's going to occur.
I'm not asking for an exact date, David. I just asked for a year versus 3 years versus 5 years. I'm not asking for an exact date. And I didn't raise the issue, Donna did. So I'm simply trying to understand the rationale for this item being before us at this time, when it's been, but we can move on. It's late.
We did look into this, and we see the importance of three components. One, some expenditure is needed for ongoing maintenance. Some expenditure is needed for enhancements related to the mayoral goals, and some expenditure is needed for integration with CCB changes. When we started this process, we were told, and were disappointed to hear, that it had needed to stay around for 3 years. And the news out of the meeting this morning that we were invited to, but had a more interesting meeting planned, was good news. We're okay with approving this for the period.
I move approval.
I will second, but I just would like to recognize Commissioner, or rather Vice President McLean Hill's comments. For years and years, I've brought up a lot of these issues, and so I really appreciate you taking the time to pursue them even further. I think it's very problematic when we do agree to contracts that have endless renewable dates, options to renew the agreements. And I think that the problem is that once a firm like Oracle knows that they're in, they just take advantage of the situation, and then they have the leverage. And so I think more than ever, it's vitally important for our procurement efforts to be really, really smart about what kind of partnership we're getting into. If it is proprietary information, how can we leverage those contracts long term so that we can add features like the text messaging that you just outlined? But I just had to say for the record that I really appreciated Vice President McLean Hill's comments.
And let me be clear, as do I. I mean, I believe that the points that she makes are very valid in terms of the overall contracting process. But it struck me that we had dealt with that. So, again, I made a motion. You second. Is there further discussion? Those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
No, I'll vote yes.
You vote yes? Okay. So it's approved. Thank you.
Thank you.
Council, your turn.
At this point, we will recess into closed session and address the items on agenda item number 25, and in accordance with California Government Code Section 54957.1, we will report any final actions taken therein. We are in recess.
Okay, we are recessed.